Chapter 1395. Ning Qing didn't know what to think, but he didn't try to use the laws of darkness again. Instead, he let Wang and Chasing Bull control the starry sky wheel to head towards the perpetual moon abyss while he returned to the cabin and went into seclusion to deduce the laws of darkness. Whether it was strength or insight, Chasing Bull could not compare to it. Beneath the perpetual moon abyss, Wang Zhong had come into contact with many jade strips left behind by powerhouses. Coupled with the help of the world's mountains and rivers, the starry sky wheel's speed within the void grew even faster. Dao friend Wang, according to the coordinates of our positional ball, we should be reaching the Jiaoyang mountain soon, right? Chasing Bull patted Wang's shoulder with its hoof and spoke casually. Wang couldn't wait to cut off Chasing Bull's hooves and stew it. But every time Chasing Bull said that its master pampered it, he would feel a chill down his spine. He had seen Ning Cheng's strength before, it was just too strong. In his memory, Ning Cheng was probably the strongest one. As for the experts of the primeval era during the First Creation War, his memories had long since become blurry. Wang quietly pushed Chasing Bull's hooves away and was just about to speak when he felt a black tide rushing over. At this moment, whether it was his divine sense or his gaze, they both fell into an endless black abyss. An oppressive aura came, making it hard for him to breathe. What was going on? Wang suddenly stood up and exclaimed in surprise. To his horror, he realized that in this darkness, not only was his divine sense and vision blurred, even his Dao aura seemed to have become sticky, as if he couldn't activate it. The perpetual moon abyss was filled with darkness, but he had never seen such a terrifying darkness before. Just when Wang was about to summon his magic weapon to protect himself, the surrounding black tide instantly disappeared. His divine sense became clear, and his eyes could see everything around him. Wang looked at Chasing Bull in doubt. Brother Chasing Bull, did you notice the darkness just now? Chasing Bull's panic-stricken eyes told him that this bull had also felt the terrifying darkness a moment ago. Did you reach the Jiaoyang mountain? Ning Cheng's voice arrived just in time. Wang hurriedly turned around and cupped his fists. Yes, Dao Lord Ning. This is the periphery of Jiaoyang mountain. After hesitating for a moment, Wang asked, Dao Lord Ning, that endless and terrifying darkness just now? Ning Qing replied with a calm voice, it's nothing. It's just that I've just started to learn a kind of spirit technique. I just wanted to test it out. Wang sucked in a breath of cold air. What kind of divine ability was this? It was so terrifying. It was like two mortals fighting with knives, and one of them was blindfolded by a black cloth. Wang did not dare to think about it anymore. He carefully glanced at Ning Cheng, feeling even more frightened in his heart. In front of Ning Cheng, he was just a blindfolded ant. Back then, he was just an ant in front of him, but now he was an existence that he could only look up to. Come out of the starry sky wheel. Let's go directly to the perpetual moon abyss in the Fallen Soul Gorge. With that, Ning Cheng waited for Wang and Chasing Bull to come out before raising his hand and putting away the starry sky wheel. Because of Wang's sudden appearance, Ning Cheng had to put aside the matter of finding the starry sky wheel's artifact spirit. At a time like this, a top-grade magic treasure was equivalent to a life. If the good fortune indestructible axe was given to him, even if he had to face Xing Shi, he might not necessarily have to escape. Now, more and more experts were gathering in the beyond of heaven and earth, and more experts were coming from the Jiaoyang mountain. Ning Cheng worried that someone might have entered the perpetual moon abyss before him and taken away even better things. Given his current strength, there weren't many people in this universe who could chase after him and force him to flee. The starry sky wheel's artifact spirit was only useful to him. But the perpetual moon abyss contained treasures, which would attract anyone. Chasing Bull felt very proud. Master didn't let it enter the mysterious yellow bead, which was equivalent to letting it go for a ride outside. Ning Cheng knew Chasing Bull's temperament and knew that it loved lively scenes. Ning Cheng decided to let Chasing Bull stay outside for the sake of controlling the airship for so many years. Yes. Wang quickly led the way. As an existence that had stayed under the perpetual moon abyss for countless years, it was too familiar with the perpetual moon abyss. Tao Lord Ning. A sudden voice called out to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness had already swept over and found an acquaintance, Mu Zuoxiao. Mu Zuoxiao was the leader of the Grand Change Pill Meet and the #1 expert in Grand Change Pill refining. He was also the founder of the Five Realms Pill Meet, which made Ning Cheng very familiar with him. Compared to his master, Ao Beijiang, Mu Zuoxiao had a much better character. It turns out to be Union Master Mu. I haven't seen you for many years. Congratulations on reaching the next level. Ning Cheng stopped and cupped his fists towards Mu Zuoxiao. When he first saw Mu Zuoxiao, he was still a half-step Dao integration cultivator. Now, Mu Zuoxiao was at the peak of the early stage Dao integration and was about to step into the middle stage Dao integration. From this, Ning Cheng could tell that Mu Zuoxiao had not only encountered many opportunities but had also gone all out in his cultivation. Mu Zuoxiao showed a bitter smile. I thought that I had obtained some opportunities in the Jiaoyang mountain, and my cultivation speed was fast. But now, compared to elder brother Ning, I know that my achievements are nothing at all. Ning Cheng then realized that Mu Zuoxiao had also obtained some opportunities in the Jiaoyang mountain, which made him want to go to the perpetual moon abyss as soon as possible. At this time, more and more experts came to the Jiaoyang mountain. Since the mysterious yellow heavens beyond was open to the public, experts from all over the world naturally knew that there were many good things here. I went to the Grand Essence realm to look for Tao Lord Ning, but I couldn't find him. I had no choice but to come to the Jiaoyang mountain to continue improving my strength. Mu Zuoxiao saw that Ning Cheng didn't want to talk anymore and quickly spoke up. Ning Cheng asked in confusion, "May I know why Guild Master Mu is looking for me?" He and Mu Zuoxiao could only be considered acquaintances, but their friendship was very ordinary. Mu Zuoxiao quickly said, "Tao Lord Ning, do you still remember the Great Change Realm's underground abyss?" Tao Lord Ning sealed the 10 abyss devils under the scorched tree temple. Ning Cheng nodded. "I remember. Is there a problem with the seal?" Even if Mu Zuoxiao hadn't mentioned it, Ning Cheng had planned to go to the Great Change Realm to find Shi Qionghua and bring her back to the Grand Essence Realm. Back then, he hadn't been strong enough, so he hadn't said much. After comprehending the Dark Law, his strength had also reached the peak of the late-stage Dao integration realm. An ordinary third-step expert was nothing in his eyes. He believed that he had the ability to help Shi Qionghua reach the third step and successfully create a realm. Moreover, the Gate of Fortune was about to open for the second time. Ning Cheng didn't want Shi Qionghua to get hurt because he wasn't by her side. Mu Zuoxiao said solemnly, "Yes, the seal has loosened a little. I went to look for Tao Lord to strengthen the seal again." Ning Cheng suddenly frowned, pondering for a moment before asking, "How long can the seal last?" Mu Zuoxiao replied, "According to my estimation, it will last for 100 years at most. After 100 years, the seal will definitely crack. With the current strength of the Great Change Realm, I'm afraid that it can no longer suppress the 10 abyss devils." Ning Cheng understood Mu Zuoxiao's words. After more than 10,000 years, the 10 abyss devils must have grown stronger. Ning Cheng relaxed a little. "Union Master Mu, I'm going to Jiaoyang Mountain to take care of some things. I'll be back in a few years. When I come back, I'll immediately go to the Great Change Realm. As for the Abyss Devils, there's no need to continue suppressing them." "Ah." Mu Zuoxiao looked at Ning Cheng in surprise. Ning Cheng patted Mu Zuoxiao's shoulder. "I'll go and destroy them in one go." Whether it was status or strength, Ning Cheng patted Mu Zuoxiao's shoulder now. Moreover, Ning Cheng wasn't talking nonsense when he said that he would destroy them in one go. With his current strength, he didn't even need anyone's help to destroy the underground demonic creatures in one go. Unless there was a powerhouse like Xing Shi among the underground demonic creatures, but such a possibility was very small. In case something happened, he could just continue to seal it. Looking at Ning Cheng's back as he instantly entered Jiaoyang Mountain with a man and a bull, Mu Zuoxiao took a long time to recover. Thinking about how Ning Cheng's strength could compare to the sacred Dao sect master, he suddenly felt a little more confident. One had to know that his nominal master, Ao Beijiang, couldn't even block a single blade from the sacred Dao sect master. Perpetual Moon Abyss, this was Ning Cheng's second time coming here. The first time, he came in by accident. Later, he relied on his understanding of the Sunset's Twilight Spirit technique in the Sea of Twilight and his deal with Wang to leave this place. This time, he felt much more relaxed compared to the first time. Back under the Perpetual Moon Abyss, the violent aura forced him to temper his spiritual consciousness. Then, through the spiritual consciousness explosion spirit technique, he opened up a space for himself. Now that his domain protected Chasing Bull, it felt much easier under the Perpetual Moon Abyss. The violent aura in the Perpetual Moon Abyss had grown stronger than before, but Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness could still easily sweep out. With Ning Cheng's current strength, his spiritual consciousness inside the Perpetual Moon Abyss was almost no different from the outside. Even so, he couldn't sweep into the deepest part of the Perpetual Moon Abyss. However, Ning Cheng believed in Wang. The deeper his spiritual consciousness went, the more he could feel traces of space collapsing. This showed that Wang didn't lie. Most likely, a void collapse had occurred at the bottom of the Perpetual Moon Abyss. You lead the way, I'll follow behind. Ning Cheng gave a signal to Wang. Yes, Dao Lord Ning. Wang didn't hesitate to descend. He could feel Ning Cheng's domain protecting his body. Once something happened to him, Ning Cheng would definitely help him. Compared to the time when he came down alone, it was much safer. The violent space above the Perpetual Moon Abyss was under Wang's control, allowing him to descend at an extremely fast speed. But after 2 days, his speed slowed down. Even with the help of Ning Cheng's domain, he found it extremely difficult to move forward. It was like diving, the deeper one went, the greater the pressure of the water. This place wasn't water, but a kind of violent law tearing and void collapsing. All kinds of fragmented law auras mixed together, making every step forward more difficult. At first, Ning Cheng thought that no matter how difficult it would take him at most a month to reach the bottom of the Perpetual Moon Abyss. But after descending for a year, the violent aura grew more and more difficult to resist. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness still couldn't sweep to the bottom. Ning Cheng understood that the Perpetual Moon Abyss was not just a simple treasure. Jifeng, you didn't know that this place was this deep. The violent space below should have appeared after that collapse. Wang, under Ning Cheng's protection, felt Ning Cheng's worries and spoke up in a timely manner. Chapter 1396. The deeper they went, the more powerful the violent Dao charm around them became. Fortunately, the increase was very low, which Ning Cheng could still resist. There were several times when Ning Cheng wanted to stop and go back first, but he held himself back. There was a saying that went, the nearer to a journey of 100 miles was the 90 mile. Perhaps as long as he took another step forward, he would reach the end. Just like this, the three of them walked for nearly 30 years. Ning Cheng finally couldn't help it and decided to give up. This Perpetual Moon Abyss was like a bottomless pit. No matter how deep they went, they couldn't reach the end. As a Dao-proving powerhouse, a few decades of lifespan was indeed nothing to him, and it was nothing at all. Ning Cheng couldn't stand this endless dive. He decided to give up for now and wait until he reached the third step before coming back. Dao Lord Ning, I feel that the violent Dao charm here doesn't seem to be increasing. Instead, it seems to have decreased a bit. Sensing Ning Cheng's speed slowing down, Wang promptly spoke out his observation. He led the way alone. Although Ning Cheng's domain protected him, he could still extend his spiritual consciousness to observe. Ning Cheng's heart moved. Sure enough, the violent aura around him had weakened a bit. It was almost undetectable, but he didn't want to continue, so he didn't care about it. Wang had been in the Perpetual Moon Abyss for many years, so he was very sensitive to the violent aura here. Ning Cheng gave up on the idea of retreating, and instead sped up his pace. Sure enough, the further down he went, the weaker the violent aura became. After another half a year, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness suddenly touched a domain barrier. What was going on? Ning Cheng immediately felt sure that he had reached the end. What made him feel strange was that this layer of domain barrier was also faintly discernible to him. A few days later, Ning Qing stopped. Although there was still a void in front of him, Ning Qing knew that it was just a distorted space. If he went any further, it would be equivalent to going back. The place he was at should be the bottom of the perpetual moon abyss. Unfortunately, after decades of rushing, there were no weapons below. There was only a void, and sometimes he couldn't feel the edge of the domain, which was indeed depressing. It looks like there are no weapons here. As Ning Qing spoke, he concentrated his spiritual consciousness. When the vague domain barrier appeared in his spiritual consciousness, Ning Qing raised his hand and grabbed it. The domain barrier moved slightly, but did not loosen in the slightest. Feeling the fluctuations in the void, Chasing Bull spoke up in surprise, "Master, this interface looks very tough." Although Chasing Bull couldn't sense the void realm, it knew that Ning Cheng's grasp could tear apart even the strongest realm boundary. But now, under Ning Cheng's grasp, it could only feel slight fluctuations in the surrounding space. Didn't this mean that this place was very hard? Wang's spiritual consciousness also couldn't feel the domain barrier in front of him, which also made him aware of what Ning Cheng was doing. After listening to Chasing Bull's words, he shook his head and said, "I'm afraid this is not a plane. It's most likely a very high-level positional plane. Unfortunately, I'm too weak. I can't sense it." Ning Cheng did not speak. His spiritual consciousness once again touched the barrier in front of him. The bounded domain in front of him was still faintly discernible, causing Ning Cheng to give a dark sigh in his heart. This was definitely because his cultivation was still too weak. He had a starry sky sea of consciousness, which meant that his spiritual consciousness was so strong that even ordinary creation world powerhouses could not compare to it. Since he couldn't sense it, those ordinary creation realm powerhouses shouldn't be able to sense it either. Fortunately, he could still faintly feel the domain barrier. Alas, after running around for a few decades, it ended up in vain. "Little Wang, there's something wrong with your judgment. It's not a big deal for an idler like me to run around for a few decades, but my master has many important things to do. Yet, he ended up being fooled by you." Chasing Bull spoke sarcastically from the side, and even the way it addressed Ning Cheng had changed. Wang didn't know what it meant by fooling, but thinking about it, it shouldn't be anything good. Therefore, he spoke up with some displeasure, "Dao friend Chasing Bull, you should have said that you're an idler, not an idler. As for whether there are any treasures below, how would I know about it?" Chasing Bull, on seeing that Wang wanted to argue with it, suddenly felt refreshed. What it feared the most was not that someone would argue with it, but that no one would argue with it. "Little Wang, you're wrong." Unfortunately, Chasing Bull had only spoken a few words when Ning Cheng raised his hand and stopped the topic, "Don't talk." Chasing Bull, on hearing its master's words, quickly shrank its head and closed its mouth, not daring to speak again. Ning Cheng had indeed found a pattern. When his mysterious yellow origin aura merged with his spiritual consciousness, he could touch the boundary between worlds in front of him. Once he used his spiritual consciousness to scan the boundary in front of him, he couldn't see anything at all. This place shouldn't be a boundary or a positional plane, but a new kind of boundary. After a long while, Ning Cheng finally spoke up in a deep voice. "What is that place?" Wang and Chasing Bull asked at the same time. "If I'm not wrong, this should be the cosmic surface." Ning Cheng spoke with a deep voice. "Cosmic surface?" Chasing Bull felt puzzled. It didn't even know what the cosmic surface was. Wang immediately asked, "Dao Lord Ning, you mean, if we go through here, we will reach another universe?" He had experienced countless years under the perpetual moon abyss and had seen the memories of many fallen powerhouses. Therefore, he naturally had a deeper understanding of the cosmic surface compared to Chasing Bull. "Little Wang, what is another universe?" Chasing Bull scratched its ears and cheeks in anxiety. Wang wasn't in the mood to pay attention to Chasing Bull's address and spoke with a solemn tone. "Rumor has it that after the primordial chaos of our side of the universe first formed, it was formed by the condensation of the 5 elements. However, the other universe is formed by the condensation of the 2 laws of light and dark. Ning Cheng nodded secretly. Wang's statement was similar to Kong's eyes. But since there were two universes, who knew if there was a third universe? Dao friend Wang, can we go through it? Chasing Bull immediately changed its address after knowing that Wang understood about the two universes. It wanted to see all kinds of novel things the most. Since there was a new universe here, how could it not want to go and have a look? Wang shook his head, I'm afraid not. I heard that only creation realm powerhouses have a chance to open the cosmic surface. I'm afraid we can't do it. Dao Lord Ning, as long as you step into the third step creation realm, you might also be able to go in. Oh. How do we get in? Ning Cheng asked in doubt. He indeed wanted to go in and have a look, but he knew that it would be difficult to open the cosmic surface with his current ability. Even if he reached the creation realm, he might not be able to tear this place apart. As for the universes derived from the laws of darkness and light, Ning Cheng only knew about them. As for the other things, Ning Cheng didn't know anything about them. Wang explained, Dao Lord Ning has the mysterious yellow bead, and the mysterious yellow bead is not blocked by the boundaries of the universes. At that time, Dao Lord can enter the other universe from this place with the help of the mysterious yellow bead. Why can't you do it now? Ning Cheng asked again. Because although Dao Lord is powerful, he can't shake the cosmic surface. Even with the help of the mysterious yellow bead, he would have to shake the cosmic surface before he could enter. Ning Cheng understood what Wang meant. It was telling him that his current strength was a little weak. Even if he tried to grab the cosmic surface with all his strength, he could only shake the cosmic surface slightly. By the time he stepped into the third step, his strength would be enough to shake the cosmic surface. Although he couldn't tear it apart, he could make the cosmic surface form enough fluctuations to affect the mysterious yellow bead. After understanding this, Ning Cheng knew that he should be able to enter the other universe now. With his current strength, he indeed couldn't tear apart the cosmic surface. However, he could use the Tao of Array formation attacks to achieve the same effect as his third step Tao confirming cultivator. It was just that it would take a longer time. I have a way to go in now. Wang, do you want to go in with me or leave? Ning Cheng thought about his darkness-attributed laws. If he could go to the universe where the darkness origin existed, he could definitely go further. He now had a certain control over the laws of darkness, but compared to Dao Lord Darkness, he was like a baby learning how to walk. In the future, Dao Lord Darkness would also have to go to the gate of good fortune. If he relied on the darkness-attributed spirit technique he learned from Dao Lord Darkness to deal with Dao Lord Darkness, it would be a joke. Wang spoke up without hesitation, I'm willing to go in. Many thanks, Dao Lord Ning, for carrying me. Wang himself was a wisp of consciousness. For him, everything else was nothingness. Only the great Tao was his ultimate goal. What's more, he had to go in. If Ning Cheng went in, with his current strength, he wouldn't be able to climb out of the perpetual moon abyss. Okay, in that case, let's start arranging the breaking boundary array. Ning Cheng said immediately. Wang had stayed in the perpetual moon abyss for many years. Moreover, the perpetual moon abyss already had all kinds of grand arrays. Wang's attainments in the Tao of array formations naturally weren't low, which would help him. Dao Lord wants to use the breaking boundary array to weaken the surface of the universe and then use the mysterious yellow bead to go in? Wang immediately understood Ning Cheng's intention. Yes. Ning Cheng didn't hide it. He knew that Wang would definitely participate. I'm willing to contribute. I've accumulated a bunch of materials over the years, which I can use to arrange the breaking boundary array. Wang quickly spoke up. He had obtained a lot of things over the years, but he had already used up all the things he could use for cultivation. As for the materials that couldn't be used for cultivation, they piled up in his world. After Wang agreed, Ning Cheng took out a bunch of materials and started refining array flags. An ordinary breaking boundary array wasn't much. It was just like refining a breaking boundary talisman. With Ning Cheng's strength, he could easily arrange it. Breaking the breaking boundary array over the surface of the universe wasn't a simple matter. Even with Ning Cheng's Tao of Array, with Wang's help, it took him 7 or 8 years to arrange it. Tao Lord Ning, what should I do next? After seeing Ning Cheng's method of arranging the breaking boundary array, Wang understood that he couldn't even compare to Ning Cheng when it came to the Tao of Array. Now that the breaking boundary array was complete, he might need Ning Cheng's help when it came to activating the breaking boundary array. Ning Cheng grabbed a handful of array flags and said to Wang and Chasing Bull, "You don't have to do anything next. Just enter the mysterious yellow bead. When I activate the breaking boundary array, we can directly enter the other side of the universe." Chapter 1397. After sending Wang and Chasing Bull into the mysterious yellow bead, Ning Cheng threw out dozens of array flags, and a violent Tao charm power blasted out. The moment he threw out the array flag, Ning Cheng immediately entered the mysterious yellow bead. The mysterious yellow bead then shot into the explosion point of the breaking boundary array. The moment he rushed into the surface of the universe, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness, which had fallen outside the mysterious yellow bead, found itself swept away by a vast force and could not stay outside for even a moment. Not knowing for how long, Ning Cheng wanted to sweep out with his spiritual consciousness once again, but found that his spiritual consciousness could not penetrate out of the mysterious yellow bead. Ning Cheng was shocked in his heart. If he could not use his spiritual consciousness, then it meant that he would remain in this place forever. Half of the 100 years that he had agreed on with Mu Zuoxiao were about to pass. How could he continue to stay in this place? Thinking of this, Ning Cheng quickly fused the laws of darkness into his spiritual consciousness and swept out again. This time, without any accident, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness fell outside the mysterious yellow bead. He felt relieved and quickly brought Chasing Bull and Wang out of the mysterious yellow bead. As soon as he came out of the mysterious yellow bead, Ning Cheng felt a slight warmth on his wrist. However, it immediately disappeared. Ning Cheng did not care about it. What he cared about was that this universe he had come from was indeed a universe born of the darkness and light laws. If he had not grasped a portion of the laws of darkness, it would have been difficult for him to escape. The place where he landed was not within the void as Ning Cheng had expected, but a boundless land. This piece of land had mountains and water, as well as light. It did not look any different from any interface Ning Cheng had seen before, but Ning Cheng's heart slowly sank. He had clearly come in from the void plane, but he couldn't feel any void plane in this place. In other words, there was no way back. There was no void where he was, only land and the sky. He could see 2 suns floating in the sky with his naked eyes, not to mention the void plane. What Ning Cheng cared about was not the 2 suns, but that his spiritual consciousness could only be used when he fused with the laws of darkness. His strength was also close to nothing. Apart from the darkness rule, he could not sense any other rule aura. In this universe, other than the darkness laws that he had just mastered, the laws that he had previously mastered were completely inapplicable. If he had to start cultivating again, it would be over. Ning Cheng tried to operate the mysterious yellow formless, and soon understood what was going on. At his level of strength, he could vaguely sense that the origin attributes here were indeed darkness and light. As for the other elemental laws, they were derived from these 2 types of laws. He came from a universe derived from the 5 elements laws. After a period of adaptation, he would be able to completely control the heaven and earth laws here and recover his strength. It's just an ordinary place, nothing special about it. Not to mention weapons, I didn't even see a single spiritual grass. Chasing Bull spoke with disappointment. Wang sneered, "You really are a bull. You still haven't reacted. Can you use your divine sense and divine essence here?" "Huh, I really can't use it." Chasing Bull finally reacted. Although it liked to stay outside, it also needed to have a certain level of strength. Now that it had no strength, what fun could it have? "Master." Chasing Bull looked at Ning Cheng. It didn't want to wander around in this broken place and wanted to leave as soon as possible. Ning Cheng waved his hand, "We have to leave this place. First, we have to restore our strength. Second, we have to find a way to leave this place." Ning Cheng felt some regret in his heart. He didn't regret coming here, but regretted coming here at this time. How could it be so easy to find a universe's universe surface? Even at the bottom of the perpetual moon abyss, he had only found it by accident. If he couldn't go to the Grand Change Realm within 100 years, he could only imagine the fate of the Grand Change Realm. Ning Qing sighed. He still controlled some laws of darkness, which meant that his strength hadn't fallen to the lowest level. It's just that it would be a bit difficult to go to the Grand Change Realm within 100 years. The only concern was that he didn't know when he could recover his cultivation. Thinking of this, Ning Qing started operating the mysterious yellow formless. In just a few breaths, Ning Qing felt the various elemental laws between heaven and earth, especially the laws of darkness and the laws of light. That bastard really did leave something behind. Ning Qing cursed in his heart as soon as he felt the darkness attributes in this place. The laws of darkness that Tao Lord Darkness gave him contained 9 truths and 1 falsehood. Not only did it completely strip away the origin aura of the darkness attribute, but it also lacked the Tao charm aura of the 5 elements. According to the laws of darkness that Tao Lord Darkness gave him, no matter how smart he was, no matter how long he spent, he wouldn't be able to block Tao Lord Darkness's laws of darkness spirit technique. In the final analysis, what he learned was just the surface, while what the other party grasped was the essence. Ning Qing sighed. If he hadn't come to this side of the universe, he would have made a huge profit. But after coming to this side of the universe, he realized that he was an idiot at that time. He actually used a bestowing lawless fruit and a clump of stabilizing soil to exchange for this thing. Moreover, he still thought that even if Tao Lord Darkness increased the price, he could still accept it. Most likely, in the eyes of Tao Lord Darkness, he was an idiot. Tao Lord Ning, what should we do now? Seeing Ning Qing not speaking for a long time, he took the initiative to ask. If Ning Qing didn't have a good solution, he planned to stay and find a place to slowly start cultivating again. For him, he had plenty of time. At worst, he could just start over again. Let's get out of here first. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out and found an endless open space. As for the void behind the sun, his spiritual consciousness couldn't sweep it at all. The heaven and earth essence chi here was also different from the 5-element universe. It had an aura of the laws of darkness and light. Although he could cultivate the mysterious yellow formless cultivation method, Ning Qing didn't plan to do so right now. He had to revise the mysterious yellow formless cultivation method before he could cultivate in this place. Ning Qing, Wang and Chasing Bull walked for nearly 10 days but didn't see a single person. However, the weather kept getting hotter and hotter, and the sky, which originally had 2 suns, now had another sun. Chasing Bull's cultivation had completely disappeared, and it couldn't even compare to Wang. If not for fear that its master wouldn't take it out for a stroll next time, it would have even asked to enter the mysterious yellow bead. This place is vast and sparsely populated, completely different from the void of our side of the universe. This place seems to be a continent without any planets. After so many days, Wang's spiritual consciousness could barely stretch out. Ning Qing said, not necessarily. It's just that our current strength is limited, and our spiritual consciousness can't penetrate this place. It's just like when we were weak and lived on a continent. Once we grow strong enough, we can rush out of this plane and feel the vastness of the void. After more than 10 days, Ning Cheng's mysterious yellow formless gradually adapted to the laws of heaven and earth here. With his strength, it would only take a few years for him to fully recover. A few years, however, was not a long time for him. Ta-ta! A burst of hoof beats arrived. Ning Cheng and the others saw a person coming out from the left side of the hill. It was a man wearing a strange hat. He was sitting on the back of an animal that did not look like a horse, nor did it look like a cow. On the back of this animal, there was a huge package. Moreover, a scimitar without a sheath hung on his back. The package exuded a bloody aura, and in this hot weather, it gave off an unpleasant stench. When this person saw Ning Cheng and the others with a cow, he immediately became cautious. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness fell on this person and caught a strange Dao charm fluctuation from him. However, this Dao charm wasn't even worth mentioning in front of Ning Cheng. Even if Ning Qing hadn't started to integrate the Tao charm of the laws of darkness and light, he could easily kill this person. This friend, please wait a moment. May I ask where the nearest city is? Ning Qing took a few steps forward and asked with cupped fists not far from the man. His spiritual consciousness swept through the man's package and found that it contained some low-level demonic beast skins and some beast bones. The man saw Ning Qing speeding up and was about to pull out his knife. After hearing Ning Cheng's question, he was slightly startled and immediately replied, "It's Tanza Point." "Don't you know Tanza Point?" Ning Qing spoke with an awkward expression, "We come from the mortal world and don't know anything about the outside world. I hope this friend can give us some pointers." Hearing Ning Qing say that he came from the mortal world, the man's expression relaxed a lot. Then he said, "Tanza Point belongs to the king's territory. Once you get there, you will be able to broaden your horizons." Wang's strength was almost non-existent, and he couldn't see through Ning Cheng's strength at all. As for chasing bull, it was just a beast. What is the king's territory? Ning Qing didn't know that the immortal world that he casually mentioned fit the description of this place. The man smiled, "You come from the mortal world, so it's normal that you don't know about the king's territory. My radiant heavens is divided into sacred domain, God domain, Emperor domain, King's territory and mortal domain. Tanza Point belongs to the Moran King's territory." Perhaps the man had been traveling alone for a long time, coupled with the fact that his strength far surpassed Ning Cheng's. Once he started to talk, he spoke without any scruples. Half a day later, Ning Cheng added some of his own speculations and finally understood what was going on. As for how big this universe was, this person obviously didn't know. He only knew that there were two heavens in this continent. One was the radiant heavens, and the other was the dark heavens. Whether it was the radiant heavens or the dark heavens, both had a strict hierarchy. Those who couldn't cultivate, or those with the weakest cultivation, lived in the mortal domain. The essence qi in this place was thin, and natural disasters abounded. After that, it was divided into King's domain, Emperor's domain, God's domain and Sage's domain. The Tanza Point they were about to go to was a place under the Moran King's territory, similar to a city. This man was just a rogue cultivator-hunter, specializing in hunting some low-level demonic beasts and then selling them at the Tanza Point. As for whether there were more planets and voids outside the radiant heavens and the dark heavens, this man didn't know. Ning Qing felt relieved. He decided to go to the Tanza Point first and buy some cultivation jade strips related to the laws of darkness to understand it. Once he understood the laws of darkness, he would immediately look for a place to leave this place. Perhaps this universe also had peerless powerhouses, but it had nothing to do with him. The most important thing for him now was to snatch the gate of good fortune. "My name is Luo En, how should I address the two of you?" After the man finished, he felt that Ning Cheng and Wang were good listeners, so his tone became even more enthusiastic. "My name is Ning Cheng." Ning Cheng had just said these 4 words when he heard a roar. He looked up and was about to ask Luo En what was going on when he saw Luo En's face turn pale. Luo En turned around and jumped down from the 2 odd beasts, forcibly pulling the 2 odd beasts to the side. Chapter 1398. Ning Qing reacted quickly and had already pulled Chasing Bull and Wang to the side of the road. The roar came from a group of people rushing over from the right side of the road, led by a huge unicorn with a height of more than 10 feet and a length of 5 meters. This unicorn had a snow-white body and exuded a strong light-attributed aura. Ning Qing guessed that this unicorn's spirit technique should be light-attributed. Behind this unicorn were dozens of men and women riding on various demonic beasts. These people also exuded light-attributed law aura. Ning Qing did not extend his spiritual consciousness. His spiritual consciousness needed to fuse with the laws of darkness before he could extend it. This place was called Bright Heaven, and these people seemed to cultivate light-attributed laws. In case Bright Heaven's people killed cultivators cultivating darkness-attributed laws on sight, he would have no one to say anything about it. This group of people rushed all the way, leaving behind a trail of dust. Although they looked powerful, Ning Qing found it funny in his heart. Even if Chasing Bull's strength was not at its peak, it could still easily kill these people. If he were at his peak, he could even stomp his feet and turn these people into ashes. Ning Qing thought that if they stopped on the side of the road, this group of people would quickly pass by. But Ning Qing did not expect that just as the snow-white unicorn passed by, a ray of light suddenly swept over. Ning Qing could feel that this ray of light did not contain any killing intent, so he did not do anything. Then he saw Ron's package hanging on the two odd beasts being swept away. Ron's face suddenly turned pale, and his lips trembled a little. However, he did not speak to stop it. Ning Qing still did not do anything. He knew what was in Ron's package. It was just some animal skins and bones that were worthless to him. To be honest, if these things were thrown in front of him, he would not even bother to bend down to pick them up. Ha! With a soft cry, the group of people, who should have roared past them, suddenly stopped. Even the unicorn that was sprinting at the very front suddenly stopped. A woman in red came down from a tall horse and deliberately walked in front of Ning Qing. She looked at Ning Qing up and down for a while before asking, "Where are you from?" Ning Qing spoke up calmly, "We are from the mortal village and are going to Tanza Point to see if there are any good opportunities." To be honest, other than a pair of bright and eye-catching eyes, this woman in red had an ordinary appearance. There was nothing attractive about her. Ning Qing could also see that this scarlet-robed woman should be the leader of this team. Not bad. You have guts. You can speak so calmly in front of me. The red-robed woman nodded before continuing to ask, "So, you don't know who I am?" Ning Qing found it funny in his heart. Not to mention who this woman was, even if the first sacred master of the radiant heavens came, he, Ning Qing, would still speak calmly. "I don't know." Ning Qing did not want to get involved, and spoke in a calm tone. The red-robed woman smiled faintly, "My name is Liz, a princess of the Moran Kingdom. I see that you are not bad. You are very calm and can be my bodyguard. Step forward and come with me." Ning Qing remained calm. Asking him, a Dao lord of a realm, to be the bodyguard of a princess? This Liz really dared to dream about it. After hearing the woman in red's words, not only did Ron's face turn paler, but even his body trembled slightly. "Sorry, I think it's good to be free. I don't want to be someone else's guard." Ning Qing naturally did not hesitate to refuse. If these people still wanted to use force, then he did not mind killing them all. "How dare you!" An angry roar rang out, followed by a burly man with a wide saber in his hand. It seemed that as long as Ning Qing said anything wrong, this man would immediately chop him down. Liz did not get angry. Instead, she waved her hand, gesturing for the big man to step back. She then said, "My patience is very limited. I chose you because you have a very strong self-confidence, and also because I feel a trace of familiarity from you." Familiarity? Ning Qing looked at Liz again in doubt. He was sure that he had never seen this woman before. Moreover, this woman could not be the reincarnation of an acquaintance. Liz nodded, "That's right, it's a sense of familiarity. When I went to the first sacred region of the radiant heavens, I felt a powerful intent in the five-colored splitter star plaza. And on your body, just now, there was actually such a similar intent. Although I can't feel it now, I believe that as long as you follow me, your future achievements will be unparalleled." Five-colored splitter star plaza. Ning Cheng's heart suddenly thumped. He suddenly remembered that when he first arrived here, he felt a slight warmth on his wrist, but he didn't care about it at that time. Now that he heard the words five-colored splitter star plaza, he immediately thought of the five-colored star splitter arrow. That slight warmth on his wrist was the location of the five-colored star splitter arrow. Now that he heard the words five-colored splitter star plaza, he immediately connected the dots. Ning Qing knew the power of the five-colored star splitter arrow too well. Even if he was now at the peak late-stage Dao integration realm, the five-colored star splitter arrow still had a powerful effect on him. Could this five-colored star splitter star plaza be the location of the five-colored star splitter bow? Moreover, his five-colored star splitter arrow was still missing a bow. If he combined the bow and arrow into one, even if he faced Xing Shi, this woman would have to suffer. Ning Qing turned cautious, and his eyes changed as he looked at Liz. This woman's cultivation wasn't high enough, so she was very sensitive to this kind of feeling. Princess Liz, may I ask what kind of place the five-colored splitter star plaza is? Ning Qing asked with cupped fists. This was the first time Ning Qing had cupped his fists. Liz nodded, feeling very satisfied with Ning Qing's change. She then said proudly, as long as you perform well, you will also have the opportunity to go to the sacred region to see the five-colored splitter star plaza. That is the pride of my Bright Tomorrow sect. Back then, my Bright Tomorrow sect fought against Dark Heaven, and the sacred lord of my Bright Tomorrow sect killed Dark Heaven's #1 expert and took the five-colored star splitter bow. To commemorate that battle, my Bright Tomorrow sect sealed the bow in the first sacred region square of my Bright Tomorrow sect, which was later renamed the five-colored star splitter square. Wasn't the five-colored star splitter bow lost during the Good Fortune War? How could it appear in this universe's Dark Heaven? Ning Qing suddenly felt confused. He quickly recovered. For him, it didn't matter how the five-colored star splitter bow appeared here. What mattered most was how he could take the five-colored star splitter bow away. If he had the five-colored star splitter bow, even if he hadn't reached the third step, he wouldn't have needed to arrange a boundary-breaking array to enter this place. With just one arrow, the mysterious yellow bead could enter this universe. What do you think? Do I have limited time? Liz frowned when she saw Ning Qing not speaking for a long time. Ning Qing quickly spoke up, I'm willing to be the princess guard, but I have to settle my friend down first before I can report to the palace master's mansion. Ning Qing had long since noticed Ron's trembling. Although he didn't care about Liz's cultivation, he had to figure out the real strength behind Liz. This was a universe he had just come into contact with, a new world that he didn't know about at all. He had to be careful. Okay, I still have 3 days left in Tanza Point. The Tanza Point's General Affairs Office will be my temporary residence. I hope you can report there as soon as possible. After Liz finished, she turned around and mounted her tall horse beast. With a wave of her hand, she took the group of people and rolled away once again. In just a blink of an eye, they disappeared, leaving behind a cloud of dust. Ning Qing didn't even look at the spiritual consciousness imprint that Liz left on him. Instead, he looked at Ron and asked, Brother Ron, have you heard of this Princess Liz? Ron's trembling body finally calmed down a bit, except for his pale face. Friend Ning, alas. After hesitating for a moment, he said, do you know who that Liz is? Isn't she the princess of the Moran Kingdom's domain? Ning Qing asked in doubt. Ron shook his head, if she really is the princess of the Moran Kingdom's domain, I would suggest that you run away now. Why run away? Ning Qing felt even more puzzled. Ron looked in the direction where Liz disappeared and sighed, that woman is a... At this point, he subconsciously stopped talking. Ning Qing took out a low-rank spirit artifact long knife and handed it to Ron. Brother Ron, I accidentally obtained this during a hunt. I'll give it to you now. This is... Ron excitedly grabbed the long knife that Ning Qing handed to him and trembled once again, a spirit artifact, no. Maybe it's a sacred artifact. Ning Qing looked at Ron's expression and knew that Ron had never seen such a treasure before. Unfortunately, he didn't know the difference between the spirit artifacts here and the spirit artifacts in his universe. In fact, this low-rank spirit artifact was one of the worst things in Ning Qing's ring. Ron's cultivation was too weak, so he could only give him this kind of thing. Moreover, from Ron's words, Ning Qing also understood that the level of artifact crafting in this place was very low. No wonder the five-colored star splitter bow was worshipped by the first sacred region of radiant brightness. Something like the five-colored star splitter bow was probably the top-grade treasure in this place. I don't know what it is. I'm too weak, so I'll give it to you. You're a hunter, and this weapon is more important to you than to me. Ning Qing said casually. Ron's eyes changed a few times, but Ning Qing pretended not to see it. He saw Ron's killing intent towards him. Fortunately, he managed to suppress it in the end. It seemed that this fellow still had a bottom line. This bottom line saved Ron's life. After a while, Ron carefully wrapped the low-rank spirit artifact in a cloth, bowed to Ning Cheng, and said, "Brother Ning, I'll leave immediately after answering your questions. Brother Ning, please don't tell anyone about this knife. Once it comes out, I'll definitely lose my life." Ning Cheng spoke with a solemn tone, "Brother Ron, rest assured. I will never tell anyone about it." "Okay." Ron responded and said that Liz is actually the daughter of the Warsong Empire's Emperor Jiang Gong. Her status is even higher than that of the Moran Kingdom's king. However, that woman is a slut. I don't know how many innocent men have died in her bed, but she enjoys it. As long as she takes a fancy to a man, she will turn him into her guard, and then... Ning Cheng understood it without saying anything else. Chapter 1399. After Ron left, Ning Cheng learned about Liz's origins from him. She came to the Moran Kingdom because she fancied the son of the Moran Kingdom's king, Sha Xian. However, Sha Xian's son died of illness on Liz's way. Sha Xian, worried about the Warsong Empire's Emperor Jiang Gong, recognized Liz as his younger sister. At the same time, he made Liz the princess of the Moran Kingdom and fawned over Liz in every possible way. Because Liz could do whatever she wanted in the Moran Kingdom, she was very free and did not vent her anger on Jiang Gong. However, over the years, her guards had changed batch after batch, and Liz's reputation had also spread. Before Ron left, he also told Ning Cheng not to run away. If he became Liz's guard, he would have a chance to live. If he ran away, he would end up in a miserable state. No matter where he fled to, he would only die. From Ron's words, Ning Cheng guessed that Sha Xian's son should not have died. As for Liz, if she didn't cultivate a type of dual cultivation technique, then she was extremely talented in bed. In just half a day, Ning Cheng, Wang and Chasing Bull arrived at the periphery of Tanza Point. Because Chasing Bull also had to adapt to the rules of this place, Ning Cheng did not send it into the mysterious yellow bead. The periphery of Tanza Point was blocked by some simple protective restrictions, and behind the protective restrictions, there was also a city wall. Perhaps because this place was relatively remote, although many people came and went, Ning Cheng did not encounter any powerhouses. No one questioned the entrance of Tanza Point. After Ning Cheng entered Tanza Point, he was greeted by a flat road with a width of 10 feet. There were no buildings on either side of the road, but at the end of the road was a magnificent circular castle. Ning Cheng could see from afar that the outermost part of the circular castle had 6 words suspended above it, Tanza Point Office of General Affairs. On both sides of the road, there were many narrow streets, and these narrow streets had a variety of commercial buildings, shops, and some rest stops. Ning Cheng did not go directly to the Office of General Affairs. Princess Liz had given him 3 days. He decided to find a rest stop and use these 2 days to restore his strength. In addition, he also wanted to buy some jade strips and look at the cultivation methods here. "You guys, just follow me to the Office of General Affairs." Ning Cheng had just bought a few jade strips from a merchant house with Wang and Chasing Bull and was about to turn into another street when 2 men stopped in front of him. Ning Cheng had seen these 2 people before. They were from Liz's team. It seems that Liz had been waiting for him for a long time. Ning Cheng was also too lazy to speak any nonsense. "First take me to a quiet place, and at the same time a place with sufficient essence qi to rest for 2 days. 2 days later I will go and report to the princess." The 2 of them looked at Ning Cheng in surprise. They did not think that the person chosen by the princess as her bodyguard would be so arrogant. "What, do you have an opinion?" Ning Cheng's voice sank, and the tone of his words also became heavy. Even though he did not extend his suppression domain, the aura of a powerhouse still made the 2 men feel a sense of oppression. One of them hurriedly said, "No, why would I have any objections? Please follow me." Actually, the place where the guards of the General Affairs Office live is filled with yuan qi, and it's also very quiet. "Both of you, this Tanza Cape's Office of General Affairs seems to have been built not too long ago." Although he did not sweep out with his spiritual consciousness, Ning Cheng could still feel it after walking for a while on the most spacious road. The two men felt suppressed by Ning Cheng's imposing manner, but after listening to Ning Cheng's words, they quickly replied, "The princess likes Tanza Cape, so she established the Tanza Cape's Office of General Affairs here." Ning Cheng instantly understood that this Princess Liz really was an arrogant person. One could imagine that the road he was walking on right now was originally filled with shops. But because Princess Liz came here, these shops were all demolished, and a new road and the Office of General Affairs were built. A person who did not care about the affairs of Tanza Cape at all, establishing an Office of General Affairs, there was nothing more ridiculous than this. Several guards stood outside the Tanza Cape Office of General Affairs. After Ning Cheng and Wang entered, they were taken to a side courtyard of the Office of General Affairs and temporarily settled down. Even as Princess Liz's bodyguard, the conditions were not bad. Ning Cheng was allocated a room that was not small, with a cultivation room, a lounge and a pet room. Princess Liz did not immediately summon Ning Cheng, but Ning Cheng naturally would not go to Princess Liz right now. Therefore, he began to arrange restrictions in the room. After arranging the protective restrictions, Ning Cheng gave the cultivation room and the pet room to Wang and Chasing Bull, while recovering his cultivation in the lounge. With Ning Cheng's attainments in the Tao of Array formations, even if the king of the Moran royal region came here, he would not be able to see through the restrictions. After entering the cultivation room, Ning Cheng could clearly feel the darkness attributed and light attributed laws here. In just an incense stick worth of time, Ning Cheng was completely immersed in the new law insights. When Ning Cheng opened his eyes again, 3 days had already passed by. A few days later, his mysterious yellow formless cultivation method slowly began to integrate with the surrounding laws of heaven and earth. His spiritual consciousness did not need to integrate with the darkness-attributed laws and could easily penetrate out. But what puzzled Ning Cheng was that his mysterious yellow formless cultivation method's deduction effect here was not as good as it was in the original universe. However, the jade strips he bought helped him a lot, although they were all low-level cultivation method jade strips. They only described some simple light-attributed essence chi or described how to deal with darkness-attributed cultivators. For Ning Cheng, this was a revelation of a new attribute, which would save him a lot of time. Ning Cheng scanned Chasing Bull and Wang with his spiritual consciousness. Wang's strength had made greater progress than Chasing Bull and was equivalent to the cauldron-filling realm. However, Chasing Bull's spiritual consciousness and strength were still in the profound core realm. Whether it was Wang or Chasing Bull's progress, Ning Cheng felt very satisfied. Even if he couldn't fully restore his strength, he would at least have the ability to protect himself in this place. 3 days later, Princess Liz, who had asked him to come, still hadn't come to see him. Ning Cheng did not feel anxious. The longer he stayed here, the stronger he would become. Another month passed by. If Ning Cheng didn't use the darkness-attributed laws, he would have already reached the full circle of the eternal realm. If he used the darkness-attributed laws, his strength would have gone far beyond that. However, Princess Liz still hadn't come to see him, which puzzled him. Tanza Jiao's cultivation method jade strip was too low-level and could only help him integrate the attributes here as quickly as possible. But it still couldn't help him improve his Tao charm. At this time, he only had 2 ways. One was to find a place where no one would disturb him and settle down. As long as he spent a few years, he could fully integrate the mysterious yellow formless with the laws here. The other way was to buy some jade strips containing insights into the laws of this universe to save himself time. Continuing to cultivate wouldn't make much progress, so Ning Cheng carefully swept out with his spiritual consciousness. This time, he saw Princess Liz. Princess Liz was walking towards him with a woman in a long skirt. The woman's strength had reached the early stage Tao sculpting realm. The woman in the long skirt seemed to have noticed Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness scanning her, and she subconsciously looked up. Ning Cheng quickly retracted his spiritual consciousness and woke up Chasing Bull and Wang. At the same time, he also put away all the restrictions he had arranged. If Liz wanted to delay taking him to the Radiant Sky Sacred Region, Ning Cheng planned to ask Liz about the Radiant Sky Sacred Region before heading there himself. "What is this place?" The woman in the long skirt walking next to Princess Liz stopped outside Ning Cheng's room and asked aloud. She looked very cultured and didn't sweep through Ning Cheng's room with her spiritual consciousness. Liz quickly replied, Sister Tang Hua, this is the place where my guards live. If we go this way, we can reach my newly built spiritual fruit orchard. I recently got a few new spiritual fruits. Liz knew that she couldn't hide it from her guards, so she decided to speak it out directly. In her opinion, Sister Tang Hua would immediately frown and leave. But to her surprise, the woman in the long skirt showed a slight smile. I also want to see my little sister's heroic guards. I don't know if my little sister would mind. Liz felt slightly startled and didn't understand what was going on. But she still spoke up carefully, if Big Sister wants to see them, then it's naturally not a problem. Let's go to this one. The woman in the long skirt pointed to the place where Ning Qing cultivated. She vaguely felt that the spiritual consciousness sweeping towards her had come from this place. Logically speaking, no one would dare to use their spiritual consciousness to scan her in this place. Even if someone used their spiritual consciousness to scan her, they wouldn't be able to achieve such a smooth and untraceable feeling. If she hadn't brought along a top-grade perception-type weapon today, she might not have been able to discover this spiritual consciousness. It's you. Liz looked at Ning Qing standing at the door of the room after opening the restriction and asked in surprise. Ning Qing looked at Liz's expression and understood that this woman had truly forgotten about him. He quickly cupped his fists and spoke, Ning Qing greets Princess Liz. You're called Ning Qing. After the woman in the long skirt heard Ning Cheng's words, she looked Ning Qing up and down. Her eyes still showed some disappointment. Ning Cheng's strength didn't seem to be high. Moreover, the man behind Ning Cheng had even lower strength. Yes, Ning Cheng is a guard that I just received. This time, I will be going to the sacred domain. He will also be one of my guards. Not waiting for Ning Cheng to speak, Princess Liz spoke up from the side. In fact, this was the first time she had heard of Ning Cheng's name. Ning Cheng on hearing this immediately spoke up, Excuse me, Princess, when will we leave for the sacred city? The woman in the long skirt looked at Liz in surprise. She had just brought the news here, and Liz had already told this guard. From the looks of it, this guard's position in Liz's heart was not low. Liz felt embarrassed. To be honest, she had no intention of taking Ning Cheng to the sacred domain. When she said that she would take Ning Cheng to the sacred domain, it was a spur-of-the-moment decision. This spur-of-the-moment decision was indeed because she felt a similar aura from Ning Cheng to the five-colored Shattered Star Plaza. However, it was just a flash. 2 days after returning to Tanza Point, she put the matter aside. Chapter 1400. Princess Reese scolded, Ning Cheng, don't be rude in front of Sister Tanghua. The woman in the long skirt smiled, Liz, it's fine. Saying that, she looked at Ning Cheng and asked, Ning Cheng, have you been Sister Liz's guard for a long time? Ning Cheng quickly replied, Yes, it's been a long time. The princess is very good to me. I've been cultivating here for a long time and I've improved a lot. Reese's face flashed with embarrassment. In fact, Ning Cheng had been her guard for more than a month. However, after Ning Cheng became her guard, this was the first time she met Ning Cheng. Oh, what are you good at? Tang Hua asked with a smile. Ning Cheng was slightly moved in his heart. Was it possible that this woman was aware that his spiritual consciousness was spying on her? Otherwise, why would he keep asking a nameless guard like him? Logically speaking, even if his cultivation was at the eternal realm, this Tao sculpting woman in front of him shouldn't be able to detect his spiritual consciousness, unless this woman had a top-grade weapon on her. Although Ning Cheng could not use his spiritual consciousness to spy on this woman in the long robe, he still felt a bit more vigilant in his heart. The woman in the long dress was much prettier than Liz. She had an oval face, but there was a hint of roundness. This roundness had a hint of gentleness. Even with a smile on her face, there was still a faint aura that made it hard for people to refuse. It could be seen that this Tang Hua's background was much higher than Liz's. I am better at dealing with group attacks, Ning Cheng said as he looked for a skill that a bodyguard should have. When Tang Hua heard this, she frowned slightly. She looked at Liz and said, "Liz, the journey to the sacred domain this time is very long. Plus, we only have a limited number of slots." Tang Hua's words had not yet finished, when Ning Qing immediately knew what the other party meant. It was as if he was a burden to them. Besides, wasn't a treasure carriage a flying magic treasure? Since the quota was limited, wouldn't it be fine to add a few more flying treasures? Liz nodded and immediately spoke to Ning Qing. "Ning Qing, you." When Ning Qing heard Liz's words, he understood that this woman wanted him to stay in Tanza Point. Therefore, he quickly spoke up, "By the way, I can also craft artifacts, and my artifact crafting skills are quite good." The reason why Ning Qing said this was because Ning Qing could tell from Ran's performance that Guangming's artifact crafting methods were not very good. "Do you know how to refine artifacts?" Tang Hua looked at Ning Qing in amazement. Ning Qing pretended to be proud and said, "That's right, I know how to refine artifacts." This time, Tang Hua did not wait for Liz to speak, and said to Liz, "Just bring him along, nowadays there are not many people who are good at crafting artifacts." With that, Tang Hua turned around and left. Liz nodded towards Ning Qing, seemingly satisfied with Ning Qing's performance. Then he said, "We'll depart in 3 days. Get ready." Ning Qing waited for the two women to walk far away. Before he sighed, he had been fooled. Even if he did not say that he knew how to refine, this woman called Tang Hua would find a way to let Liz take him. Tang Hua should have been eyeing him. As for the reason, it was very likely that it had something to do with him sweeping her with his divine sense. The reason why he asked him about his abilities was because he was certain that he wanted to go to the Saint region. Ning Qing shook his head. He was a powerhouse about to reach the 3rd step, but he was tricked by a Tao-molding divine emperor. This woman was not simple. "Congratulations, I am Zheng Xian. I hope that elder brother Ning can take care of me in the future." A guard from the next room came out, and spoke to Ning Qing with cupped fists. Apparently, he had also heard Ning Qing's registration. Ning Qing replied with a smile and cupped fists, "Many thanks, brother Zheng. I was just lucky. The Saint region is hard to enter. Brother Ning has only been here for a little more than a month, and you already have the opportunity to go to the Saint region with the princess. It really is a great fortune." Zheng Xian sighed. This time, it was not his turn to go to the Saint region, which made him feel very regretful. Ning Qing asked in doubt, "Brother Zheng, Fairy Tang Hua said that the slots for the treasure carriage are limited. Why not add another treasure carriage?" Zheng Xian looked at Ning Qing in surprise. After a while, he said, "Brother Ning just came from the ordinary realm, so it's normal that you don't know about it. From the Mo Luan Imperial region to the Bright Radiance First Sacred region, the journey is incomparably long. Moreover, to the sacred region, there is also the sacred domain river. Apart from the radiant treasure carriage, no other weapon can cross the sacred domain river. Even if you can walk to the edge of the sacred domain river, without the radiant treasure carriage, you still can't reach the sacred region." So that was the case. Ning Qing finally understood what was going on. This sacred domain river must be a dangerous place like the Jiaoyang mountain. Many thanks for Brother Zheng's advice. Ning Qing and Zheng Xian exchanged a few polite words before returning to their room. "Dao Lord Ning, I want to say goodbye." As soon as Ning Qing returned to his room, Wang spoke to Ning Qing with a hint of excitement in his eyes. Ning Qing looked at Wang in doubt. "Wang, we're about to go to the Bright Radiance Sacred region. The opportunities there are definitely much more than this place. Why do you want to say goodbye now?" Wang took in a deep breath and spoke with extreme caution. "Dao Lord Ning, the slots to go to the sacred region are limited. I listened to Tang Hua's words. If you insist on taking me with you, she should agree. You have to be careful of that woman. She's not that simple. Then let's go together." Ning Qing didn't care about what that woman thought about him bringing along a person and a beast. Wang shook his head and continued, "More importantly, I don't want to go. I feel like a fish in water in this place. The effect of cultivation here is many times better than in the perpetual moon abyss. I'm sure that in a few years, I can fully restore my strength and see the 3rd step. Ning Qing nodded and felt that Wang's words were not nonsense. In just a month, Wang's strength had almost caught up to him. From this, it could be seen that Wang was indeed more suitable for cultivation in this side of the universe. Another thing is that I want to explore the new rules of this place by myself. I want to leave Tanza Point and find a place alone to advance to the third step. Wang spoke in a serious tone. Ning Qing asked in confusion, "Don't you want to go back to the five-element universe where we came from?" Wang shook his head and said, "Yes, I really don't want to go back. First, this place is more suitable for me. If I don't go back, I can avoid participating in the second battle to open the gate of good fortune. After seeing Dao Lord Ning's strength, I know that I'm just an ant when facing the second opening of the gate of good fortune. Of course, there's another more important reason." "What?" Ning Qing asked subconsciously. Wang took in a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "I only figured out this problem after coming to this side of the universe. Ji Fengyu is a genius, so how could he let a wisp of his consciousness pose a threat to him? Or rather, how could he let a wisp of his consciousness, which he spent so much effort to create, escape his control?" Ning Qing immediately understood what Wang meant. "Wang, are you saying that Ji Fengyu deliberately let you grow so that he could use you?" Wang said with certainty, "In this side of the universe, after coming into contact with the dark and light attributes, I became clearer. That's what Ji Fengyu thought. He left behind many consciousnesses in the past, and I'm just one of them. I'm sure that when the second gate of good fortune opens, Ji Fengyu will integrate his consciousnesses and perfect his world and Tao. What he did back then is most likely to be in preparation for the second opening of the gate of good fortune." Ning Qing fell silent. He didn't think that Wang was wrong. These old things were extremely shrewd and wouldn't die easily. It was normal for them to leave behind some tricks that others couldn't fathom. Wang sighed and said, "After coming to this side of the universe, this feeling became clearer. I feel that only by staying here and perfecting my Tao and stepping into the third step can I cut off all previous connections and truly belong to myself. Okay, then I wish you success." Ning Qing didn't try to persuade him anymore. Everyone had their own ambitions. Since Wang had made up his mind, there was no need for him to persuade him anymore. Besides, Wang's words weren't without reason. Alas, one less old friend. Looking at Wang leaving the Tanza Point Manor alone, Chasing Bull spoke with a sigh. As a guy who liked to be in a crowd, he was bored out of his mind without anyone to bicker with. This made it miss that old fart a lot. Among all the people it had come into contact with, only that old fart was the most compatible with its temperament. From that old fart, it not only learned a lot of unscrupulous things, but also reached a higher level. 3 days later, Ning Qing followed the other 49 guards and escorted Liz and Tang Hua out of Tanza Point. Watching Ning Qing leave, Princess Liz didn't even mention it. Ning Qing was worried that Chasing Bull would refuse, but he didn't expect that it wouldn't even ask. That's because each of the 50 guards had a companion beast. The only difference was that Ning Qing's companion beast, Chasing Bull, was the weakest. Ning Qing wanted to understand Tang Hua's origin and why she wanted to go to the sacred domain. However, even after he asked a few people in succession, no one was willing to talk to him. Isolated, Ning Qing felt a little speechless. Most likely, these guards thought that he was here to steal their favors. As such, he could only walk at the back with Chasing Bull. "Friend, my name is Zhu Qi." Just when Ning Qing was about to stop asking, a short, thin man suddenly walked up to Ning Qing and whispered with cupped fists. "My name is Ning Qing." Ning Qing also cupped his fists in return. Zhu Qi glanced at the group of guards in front of him and whispered, "Brother Ning, if you encounter a battle on the road, don't stand with these people." "Why?" Ning Qing asked in doubt, although these guards were estranged from him, but after all, they were all on the same side. Zhu Qi replied, "You just arrived here, so you don't know about these people. There will definitely be battles along the way, and you'll understand what I mean when the time comes." After chatting with Zhu Qi for a while, Ning Qing had a preliminary understanding of the situation. Among the 50 guards, Liz only had 20 guards, while the other 30 were Tang Hua's. As for Tang Hua's origin, Zhu Qi didn't know much about it. He only knew that she was a person with a great background and was related to Liz. This group of people would not go to the Mo Luan imperial region but directly to the first sacred domain of the Bright Radiance sect. As for the Radiant Treasure Chariot, it would only appear in the Sacred Domain River. Chapter 1401. While Zhu Qi spoke from the side, Ning Cheng was actually thinking about the Sacred Domain River. The Holy Domain River was probably the same as the moat. It should be the defensive river of the Radiant Empire. Seeing Ning Cheng remain silent, Zhu Qi thought that Ning Cheng was worried. He raised his hand and patted Ning Cheng's shoulder. "Brother Ning, don't worry. There shouldn't be any problems within the Moran King's domain. Even if someone is blind, it won't be our turn to make a move." By the time they reached the border of the Moran Kingdom, there would be top-grade flying treasures. With so many experts on the flying ship, even if some bandits wanted to take action, they wouldn't have the guts. Ning Cheng quickly spoke up, "I'm not worried about it. I'm just thinking about how big tomorrow's sacred domain is, and how powerful the strongest powerhouse is." Hearing Ning Cheng's words, Zhu Qi gave a smile. "My Bright Radiance sect has many powerhouses, but I naturally don't know how strong the strongest one is. However, I do know who the strongest expert of our Warsong Imperial region is." "Who?" Ning Cheng asked casually. Ning Cheng didn't really care about an expert from the Warsong Imperial domain. "It's Cadiz. Cadiz is the #1 battle emperor in the Warsong Imperial region. I heard that in the battle for the origin with Genshin, Cadiz killed an expert who was a level higher than him and shocked the entire radiant heavens." Zhu Qi's words made Ning Cheng's mind feel as if a meteor had streaked across it, flashing a bright light. He almost smacked his head. Why didn't he think of that? Why was it that his mysterious yellow formless was able to deduce cultivation methods in the original universe, but when he came here to fuse the laws of darkness and light, he ended up stumbling? Zhu Qi's words made him suddenly understand. Although his mysterious yellow bead had the 5 elemental origins, but it did not have the darkness-attributed origins or the light-attributed origins. If he could obtain these 2 origins, then wouldn't the mysterious yellow bead rise to the next level? Even if the mysterious yellow bead did not advance to the next level, now that he possessed these 2 origins, his mysterious yellow formless cultivation method would definitely become more complete. At the same time, his understanding of the laws of darkness and the laws of light would also increase by a step. After coming to this place, Ning Cheng had always felt that he was missing something. Only now did he truly wake up. What he lacked were the origins of darkness and light. "Brother Zhu, did you just say that there was a war to fight for the origin?" Ning Cheng immediately asked. Zhu Qi answered, "Of course, it was the darkness origin bead that appeared that time. The darkness origin bead appeared in the Thunder God Canyon of the Radiant Heavens. The origin bead's appearance in the radiant sky had nothing to do with the darkness sky. However, the experts of the darkness sky believed that the darkness origin bead should belong to the darkness sky. As a result, countless experts came to fight over it. Because of the darkness origin bead, a great battle had broken out between Heavenlight and Heavenlight. Countless powerhouses perished in that battle. Senior Cadiz became famous in that battle and became one of the famous powerhouses of the Radiant Kingdom. Who managed to snatch the darkness origin bead?" Ning Cheng immediately asked. This was what he cared about the most. Zhu Qi shook his head and said, "After that battle, the 2 sides stopped fighting, and haven't fought again for many years. As for who obtained the origin bead, I really have no idea." While talking with Zhu Qi, Ning Cheng had gained a better understanding of this universe. Just as he had guessed, this universe really was a vast and boundless continent. A day later, the team stopped at the edge of a huge public square. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness could already see several huge airship-type artifacts on the public square. A man with a strong body and an extremely handsome appearance stood up and said, "We're about to board the Imperial Domain's airship from here to the Warsong Imperial Domain. Because we're not the only ones on the airship, there are also many other caravans and some powerhouses. After getting on the airship, please don't cause any trouble." After chatting with Zhu Qi for so long, Ning Qing now knew who this handsome man was. He was Dan Jiaxi, the captain of Liz's escort team. Ning Qing even had a malicious thought that the reason why Dan Jiaxi could become the captain was because of his good looks, which could make Liz happy. Ning Qing just couldn't figure out how a dark-skinned and short fellow like Zhu Qi managed to sneak into the escort team. Despite Dan Jiaxi's words, when Liz and Tang Hua walked onto the airship with a group of guards, many of the guards on the airship stood on both sides to greet them. From this, one could tell that Liz's status here was extremely high. With Liz's status, no one on the airship would come looking for trouble. As one of Liz's guards, Ning Qing naturally lived in the best part of the airship. Not only that, but he was also assigned a luxurious cultivation room. As soon as he entered the room, Chasing Bull spoke up, "Master, instead of taking this broken airship, it's better to use the Starry Sky Wheel. We can get there in a flash." Chasing Bull was used to riding the Starry Sky Wheel. Although this huge airship looked luxurious and comfortable, Chasing Bull couldn't get used to it. The main reason was that the speed of this huge airship's flight-type weapon was definitely not as fast as the Starry Sky Wheel. Ning Qing hadn't even boarded the airship when he realized that this airship's speed couldn't even compare to a low-rank spirit artifact flight-type weapon. However, he didn't have a map to reach the sacred domain. Moreover, he didn't know how much strength he needed to reach the sacred domain. He could only follow behind the princess. "Don't be long-winded. With your strength, even if you controlled the Starry Sky Wheel, you wouldn't be much faster than this." Ning Qing gave Chasing Bull a stare. Chasing Bull was too lazy. With such good qualifications, it didn't want to cultivate. "Master, rest assured. This flight won't be a short one. I will definitely improve my strength." Feeling that its master wasn't satisfied with its progress, Chasing Bull quickly patted its chest and guaranteed. Ning Qing waved his hand and stopped Chasing Bull from continuing to speak. Sure enough, the next moment, Liz in a red dress appeared at his door. "Ning Qing greets the princess." Ning Qing quickly cupped his fists and greeted. He still needed Princess Liz's help to reach the sacred domain. Therefore, he naturally couldn't offend Liz at this time. Liz glanced at Ning Qing and then glanced at Chasing Bull on the side. Chasing Bull consciously walked into the beast pet room next to it. It sneered in its heart. "You want to seduce my master with such an ugly appearance? Which one of my master's women is 10,000 times better than a broken princess like you? Ning Qing, since I accepted you as a guard, I've been very busy and haven't had time to pamper you. You don't mind, do you?" Liz spoke with a slightly panting tone. Ning Qing felt a chill run down his spine. "Pamper me? No, my cultivation is too weak. I just want to seize the time to cultivate." Ning Qing replied vaguely. In fact, he wanted Princess Liz to leave as soon as possible. "It doesn't matter. When you and I are together, you will know that your cultivation will rise by leaps and bounds." Liz spoke without care. Ning Qing felt even more speechless. "You're just a Dao sculpting cultivator, and your foundation is already modeled. Yet, you still want to grow by leaps and bounds." This princess's face had already reached a certain level of thickness. "Excuse me, is Protector Ning here?" Just when Ning Qing wanted to find an excuse to let Liz leave, Tang Hua's voice arrived. Liz quickly put away her hands that were about to untie her dress and was about to give Ning Qing a meaningful look when Ning Qing spoke up, "I haven't rested yet. Fairy Tang Hua, please come in." After saying that, Ning Qing took the initiative to open the restriction on the door. Tang Hua felt a little surprised when she saw Liz in Ning Qing's room. But she smiled and said, "Sister Liz, I didn't expect you to be here." Liz also showed a smile, "Sister Tang Hua, is there something you need from my guard?" Protector Ning said that he is good at artifact crafting, and I happen to have some artifact crafting matters to consult Protector Ning. I don't know if it's convenient. Tang Hua kept a smile on her face. Ning Qing pretended to be serious and said, "Naturally, it's convenient. If Fairy Tang Hua has any questions, please ask." When Liz heard Ning Cheng's words, she felt very unhappy with Ning Cheng. But she obviously didn't want to get into a deadlock with Tang Hua. So, she said, then I'll leave first. Wait, Sister Liz, what do you think of my guard, Huang Fuxiu? Just as Liz was about to leave, Tang Hua unexpectedly called out to Liz. Liz froze for a moment before speaking up. Sister Tang Hua, Huang Fuxiu is the captain of your guard team. He is also the strongest in our team. Naturally, he is a first-class talent. There was one more sentence that Liz didn't say. Huang Fuxiu not only had the highest cultivation, but he was also tall and handsome, with a masculine appeal. Compared to her guard captain, Dan Jiaxi, he was several times stronger. Tang Hua spoke up softly, if Sister Liz doesn't mind, I intend to give Huang Fuxiu to Sister. I think that among Sister's guards, their strength is still a bit weak. Liz was startled for a moment. She didn't think that Tang Hua would give her the strongest and most handsome guard under her command. In fact, along the way, Huang Fuxiu had already left a very deep impression in her heart. How can this be? Huang Fuxiu is Sister's guard captain, how can I? Liz didn't know what Tang Hua meant, but although she was reluctant, she still refused. Tang Hua raised her hand to stop Liz's words, and spoke in a soft voice, you and I are sisters, there is nothing that can't be done. Don't tell me that if I took a fancy to your guard captain, and wanted to ask Sister for it, would Sister not agree? Naturally not, if Sister took a fancy to Dan Jiaxi. Liz's words had not yet finished, when she was once again stopped by Tang Hua. I'm just making an analogy, Dan Jiaxi is so capable, I naturally would not want him. As for Huang Fuxiu being Sister's guard, this matter is settled. Then Liz thanks Sister for your kindness. Hearing Tang Hua's words, Liz knew that Tang Hua was not pretending to be generous, but really wanted to give Huang Fuxiu to her. In that case, she had no reason not to accept it. That's right, Sister Liz, this guard of Ning Cheng has some good insights on crafting artifacts. I want to shamelessly ask Sister to come over, I don't know what Sister thinks about it. Tang Hua, on hearing Liz accept Huang Fuxiu, immediately spoke up. Liz finally understood. Originally her sister wanted to use Huang Fuxiu to exchange for Ning Cheng. She knew that Tang Hua was shrewd, but using Huang Fuxiu to exchange for Ning Cheng, this kind of unprofitable business, was there something strange about it? She immediately thought of the moment when she saw Ning Cheng, and felt a trace of familiarity from Ning Cheng. At this moment, she unexpectedly felt somewhat reluctant to hand over Ning Cheng. Hearing her words, she did not immediately agree, but looked at Ning Cheng and asked, Ning Cheng, Sister Tang Hua wants you to help, what do you think about it? Chapter 1402. Ning Cheng did not care about Reese's thoughts and attitude, as he spoke without hesitation, being able to help Fairy Tang Hua, I am naturally willing. Liz was exasperated. If any of her guards were to ask this question, they would definitely say that although they wanted to serve Tang Hua, they were unwilling to leave her, Liz. This Ning Cheng was just a rogue cultivator from the mortal realm, yet he was so unreasonable. If she had known earlier, she would have taught him a lesson first. Otherwise, a rogue cultivator from the mortal domain would think that she, Liz, was someone easy to deal with. Many thanks to Ning Cheng's bodyguard, Sister Liz. After Tang Hua thanked Ning Cheng, she looked at Liz with a smile. Reese gave a somewhat unnatural smile. Since Ning Cheng is willing, then he will naturally be elder Sister Tang Hua's bodyguard. When Sister Tang Hua doesn't need him anymore, then let him come back. This time, Tang Hua did not speak. Ning Cheng sneered in his heart. At that time, even if he hadn't found the darkness-attributed laws, a small imperial domain wouldn't have been able to restrain him. After Liz finished this sentence, she waited for Ning Cheng to express his stance. What she did not expect was that Ning Cheng acted as if he had not heard those words, and still acted as if nothing had happened. Her heart was filled with hatred. She could only casually say goodbye and turn around to leave gloomily. When Liz left, Ning Cheng did not show even the slightest bit of reaction. Tang Hua did not seem to be surprised by this, as she casually shot out a few restrictions to isolate Ning Cheng's room. Finishing these, Tang Hua looked at Ning Cheng with a smile, Friend Ning, if I have not guessed wrong, then your cultivation should be far higher than mine. Besides, you are not Ritha's guard. In other words, you became Liz's bodyguard for a reason. After the last time Tang Hua used words to scheme against him, Ning Qing knew that this woman was not simple. He was not surprised, and simply sat down and said, Miss Tang Hua, since you know that my strength is stronger than you still dare to stay here alone with me? Aren't you afraid that I'll attack you? Tang Hua showed a faint smile. Not only was she not worried, but she also sat opposite to Ning Cheng, and took the initiative to take out the teapot and pour a cup of spiritual tea for Ning Cheng, and spoke, You will not kill me, although your strength is slightly stronger than me, but it does not necessarily mean that you would be able to kill me. Even if you could kill me, why did you do it? What's more, if you make a move, you'll definitely die. Ning Qing did not speak. He did not believe that Tang Hua really wanted him to help her with crafting an artifact. Seeing Ning Qing not speaking, Tang Hua once again spoke, Your spiritual consciousness is very strange. The last time you used your spiritual consciousness to spy on me, I almost did not notice it. If you have something to say, then just say it. I don't like to be long-winded. As Ning Qing spoke, he felt the cabin slightly shake. He knew that the airship should have set off. All right. Then I'll be straightforward. Tang Hua stood up. What's the extent of your refining level? How's the identification of materials? Ning Qing spoke in a light voice. My level of crafting artifacts is not bad, but my ability to identify materials is 100 times better than my level of crafting artifacts. Speaking till here, Ning Qing pretended to be even more proud as he spoke. Even if you look at the entire light heavenly sect, there are only a handful of people who are better than me in identifying materials. Although she knew that Ning Cheng was just bragging, Tang Hua was still somewhat surprised. She raised her hand and grabbed 3 materials and placed them on the table. May I ask what these 3 materials are? When Ning Qing saw these 3 materials, he suddenly felt a bit surprised, because the first 2 of these 3 materials were extremely rare. Tang Hua was only in the Dao sculpting realm, yet she could come up with these materials. From this, it could be seen that the strength behind her wasn't weak. This is the evil light ghost mist, which is relatively rare. It's a material for crafting top-grade soul-devouring artifacts. Ning Qing pointed to a gray fog with a glow. Hearing Ning Qing recognize the evil light ghost mist, Tang Hua's eyes showed a trace of surprise. Ning Qing didn't care about Tang Hua's expression and pointed to the second grayish thing and said, This is the Night Thunder Underworld fruit. People say that it's rare to find a thunder-attributed Dao fruit in the Dark Nether realm, but this Night Thunder Underworld fruit really is a product of the Dark Nether realm. In terms of value, it might not be as good as the evil light ghost mist, but it's even rarer. This is not an artifact crafting material, but a Dao fruit for alchemy. Tang Hua truly felt moved this time. In fact, as long as Ning Cheng could recognize one of the 3 materials, she would feel very satisfied. After all, the 3 things she took out were extremely rare. Most people would never have heard of them, let alone seen them in their lifetime. Ning Cheng didn't even touch them with his hands, yet he recognized these 2 things. Brother Ning, aren't you proficient in artifact crafting? How can you even recognize alchemy materials? Tang Hua felt surprised in her heart, but asked in a very calm voice. She unconsciously changed the way she addressed Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng showed a smile and spoke, I can also refine some simple medicinal pills, but my alchemy level is not as good as artifact crafting. Ning Cheng wasn't talking nonsense. Among the auxiliary skills he cultivated, the one he spent the most time researching was the Tao of Arrays, followed by the Tao of Alchemy and the Tao of Artifact Crafting. After he successfully refined the Good Fortune Divine Spear, his attainments in the Tao of Artifact Crafting was not any weaker than the Tao of Alchemy. Well, does Brother Ning know what this 3rd material is? Tang Hua's eyes lit up even more, as she pointed to the 3rd lump of material and asked. The 3rd lump of material was gray with a touch of light blue, and looked like a piece of bamboo. The spiritual chi fluctuations it gave off were also very elusive. Ning Cheng's gaze fell on this material for a while before he spoke, although I haven't seen this thing before, I can recognize it. If I'm not wrong, this should be booby. I didn't expect Miss Tang Hua to have this kind of rare material, I really admire it. Booby was a low-level body sculpting material. If the first two materials were extremely rare, then booby was almost extinct. Sometimes, one might not even be able to find one in 100 planets, but the value of this material was extremely low. It could only be used to sculpt the body of low-leveled cultivators, and after sculpting it, there would be many side effects. Therefore, there were almost no jade strips that recorded this material. After hearing that Ning Qing recognized the booby, Tang Hua took a deep breath. She knew that the person she was looking for was Ning Qing. Before she took out the booby, she had not expected Ning Qing to recognize this material. When her grandfather had taken out the booby, even a top-notch artifact crafting Grand Master of the Bright Sky Academy could not recognize it, but Ning Qing was able to recognize it. "Brother Ning, I want to apologize to you. I thought that you were just talking big. But now I know that what you said was the truth." Tang Hua finished, before she gave a deep bow to Ning Qing. After the salute, Tang Hua lowered her posture and spoke, "Brother Ning, I have a matter that I want to ask you for help with. After arriving at the sacred domain, I want to identify a few materials." Not waiting for Tang Hua to finish, Ning Qing waved his hand to stop her words. "Wait, although I am good at identifying materials, I do not intend to help you with anything, I have my own things to do." At this time, Tang Hua naturally did not dare to say that Ning Qing was already her bodyguard. She knew that Ning Qing was definitely not an ordinary person. If what Liz Si said was true, then how could a rogue cultivator from the ordinary realm recognize the booby? Therefore, after Ning Qing spoke, she did not get angry, but spoke up in a sincere manner. "I know that Brother Ning also has something to do in the sacred domain. However, I still have a few means in the sacred domain. I ask Brother Ning to speak up. As long as it is not a particularly difficult matter, I believe that I can help you 1 or 2 times." Ning Cheng's heart moved when he heard those words. He pretended to sneer and spoke, "Isn't Miss Tang Hua's words a bit too big? If I say that I want the light origin bead, or even the darkness origin bead, can you help me 1 or 2 times? Therefore, it is better to be practical with your words." Tang Hua gave an awkward smile. "The darkness origin bead belongs to my Bright Sky Academy's premier powerhouse, Senior Nong Shimu. Even the Bright Sky Sacred Domain's sacred master cannot take it. As for the light origin bead, it has never appeared before." "Nong Shimu? The premier powerhouse of my Bright Sky Academy?" Ning Qing immediately asked. He had finally found the whereabouts of the darkness origin bead, but would he be a match for the premier powerhouse of my Bright Sky Academy after recovering his strength? Tang Hua nodded. "Yes, Senior Nong Shimu is the premier powerhouse of my Bright Sky Academy. Even my grandfather is not his opponent. He made a great contribution to my Bright Sky Academy. Not only did he protect my bright sky from destruction, but he also snatched back the 5-colored star splitter bow during the battle with Dark Sky." Did Senior Nong Shimu snatch back the 5-colored star splitter bow? Ning Qing asked again. Yes, after Senior Nong Shimu snatched back the 5-colored star splitter bow, he did not keep it for himself. Instead, he gave it to the sacred domain. It is now carved in the sacred domain's public square, with the bow facing Dark Sky. Once Dark Sky decides to attack Bright Sky, this bow would be the first to activate. Tang Hua explained. Ning Qing gave out a sigh in his heart. Tang Hua really knew more than Liz. He also understood that the 5-colored star splitter bow was not a decoration in the 5-colored star splitter public square, but a defensive weapon arranged in the 5-colored star splitter public square. From the looks of it, it would be even more troublesome to get his hands on this bow. Tang Hua continued, "After making such a great contribution, Senior Nong Shimu refused the opportunity to become the sacred master of Bright Sky Academy and chose to go into seclusion. Unexpectedly, the darkness origin bead once again appeared in the Bright Sky Academy. The appearance of the darkness origin bead once again attracted Dark Sky to snatch it. Senior Nong Shimu's injuries had not yet healed, but he still came out to defend the honor of Bright Sky. As a result, in that battle, Senior Nong Shimu once again killed a powerhouse from Dark Sky and snatched the darkness origin bead. Unfortunately, Senior Nong Shimu also burnt his spiritual soul during that battle, which eventually led to his soul dispersing and his body falling from the bright sky. Nong Shimu died. Ning Cheng looked at Tang Hua in doubt. If Nong Shimu died, then why was the darkness origin bead still in his hands? Tang Hua understood Ning Cheng's doubts and explained, although Senior Nong Shimu died, he had a daughter. His daughter's name is Nong Shirua. She was frail and sickly, unable to cultivate at all. To everyone's surprise, Senior Nong Shimu gave this darkness origin bead to his daughter, Nong Shirua. Therefore, this darkness origin bead has always been with Nong Shirua. Because of Nong Shimu's contribution, Bright Sky's sacred master became extremely protective of Nong Shirua. Ning Cheng frowned slightly. This was not right. What kind of treasure was the darkness origin bead? Since Nong Shimu died, how could his frail and sickly daughter keep the darkness origin bead? Chapter 1403. How did she manage to keep the origin bead? Ning Cheng immediately asked. He did not believe that everyone from Bright Light sect had such integrity. Because Nong Shimu had contributed to Bright Tomorrow, these people would not snatch his daughter's darkness origin bead. Tang Hua knew that Ning Cheng would ask such a question, as she gave a slight smile and spoke, "Do you think that it would be so easy to obtain the title of Nong Shimu's strongest expert? No one could enter the restriction of his cave abode. Even if someone did enter, they wouldn't be able to do anything to her." Ning Cheng immediately understood, "You mean Nong Shirua has a protective treasure left behind by Nong Shimu?" Tang Hua nodded, "That's right. Back then, Nong Shimu severed a few of his sacred arts and refined them into Nong Shirua's protective sacred arts. Anyone who harbors ill intent towards her will be killed by her protective divine art." At this point, Tang Hua paused for a moment and asked, "Do you know Bright Light Sanctuary's robber Di Fei?" Ning Cheng shook his head. Regarding the powerhouses of the Radiant Heavenly Sect, apart from Nong Zimu, who Tang Hua had mentioned, he only knew about Cadiz, the first battle emperor of the Warsong Imperial domain that Ron had mentioned. As for Robber Di Fei, he had never heard of him. Seeing that Ning Cheng had not even heard of Di Fei, Tang Hua believed that Ning Cheng must have come from the ordinary realm. As such, she once again asked, "Do you know Cadiz?" Ning Cheng showed a slight smile. He finally asked someone he had heard of before. "I naturally know about Cadiz. He is the premier battle emperor of the Warsong Imperial domain. I've heard of him for a long time." If Ning Cheng had not even heard of Cadiz, then Tang Hua would really suspect that Ning Cheng did not belong to this place. After Ning Cheng finished speaking, she continued, "Although Cadiz is the premier battle emperor of the Warsong Imperial domain, his strength ranks among the top even in the sacred domain of the Radiant Heavens. Even he was no match for Di Fei. Only the best treasures in the hands of the top experts could catch the eye of that robber Di Fei. Di Fei, on the other hand, had never failed in bright radiance. Those who are targeted by him, no matter how capable you are, will still die." Ning Cheng suddenly asked, "You mean that Di Fei finally set his eyes on the darkness origin bead and then went to look for Nong Shirua?" Tang Hua nodded, "That's right. Di Fei has his eyes on the darkness origin bead. He brought a few people with him to find Nong Shirua and prepare to steal the darkness origin bead. Do you know what happened?" Saying that, she did not wait for Ning Cheng to guess, and took the initiative to say, "In the end, none of the people he brought out came out, and he himself escaped with severe injuries, almost dying at the hands of Nong Shirua." Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. If what Tang Hua said was true, then wasn't Nong Shimu a bit too powerful? The defensive divine art left behind after death was also so powerful. According to Ning Cheng's guess, since Cadiz could become the premier battle emperor of the Warsong Empire, then his cultivation should at least be at the second step. Since Robber Di Fei could defeat Cadiz, his cultivation was definitely at least at step 2. According to this speculation, Nong Shimu was most likely a true third-step expert. What level has Cadiz reached? Ning Cheng also knew that he also wanted to obtain the darkness origin bead. If Nong Shirua didn't wait for him to speak and immediately attacked him, then he would have to figure out Chu Difei's strength first. Cadiz was already at the primordial chaos realm many years ago. I'm afraid he's already at the peak of the primordial chaos realm now. He might even be a Dao integration expert. Tang Hua did not hide anything. Ning Qing thought to himself, it seems that before Nong Shimu fell, his strongest strength should not be far off from his full recovery. Brother Ning, you seem to care a lot about the darkness origin bead? Seeing Ning Qing not speaking, Tang Hua suddenly asked. Ning Cheng's heart skipped a beat. He had been too careless just now to ask so many questions. Tang Hua, this woman, was too sensitive and suspicious. Thinking of this, Ning Qing showed a faint smile. I naturally want the darkness origin bead, but I'm afraid I won't be able to obtain it. Miss Tang Hua, I'm going to rest, please go ahead. Since Tang Hua knew that he wasn't a guard, and vaguely guessed that he had concealed his strength, Ning Qing didn't need to continue pretending to be a guard. He believed that Tang Hua wouldn't suddenly drive him away. Tang Hua just casually said it. After all, with Ning Cheng's strength, he was still far from being able to covet the darkness origin bead. Brother Ning, I'll tell you the truth. The Radiant Heavenly Sacred Region has a top-notch radiant storehouse, which contains the top-notch artifact crafting and cultivation materials that the Radiant Heavenly Sacred Region has accumulated over the years. This time, when the Radiant Sacred Assembly opens, the Radiant Sacred Lord will allow 10 people who have made great contributions to the Radiant Heavens to choose materials from the Radiant Treasury. As you know, my Radiant Heavens does not have many artifact crafting powerhouses. Moreover, the Radiant Treasury has accumulated many rare treasures over the years. Ning Qing directly interrupted Tang Hua's words. Miss Tang Hua, do you mean that you want me to help you choose the materials? Not to mention Tang Hua, even Ning Qing felt a bit tempted. This was a universe governed by the laws of darkness and light. Radiant Heaven's Radiant Treasury had accumulated over countless years. How many precious materials would it contain? Maybe it even contained things like the Primal Chaos 5 soil. Even if there was no Primal Chaos 5 soil, wouldn't there definitely be soul-gathering Immortal Lotus? Lu Dongsa had not yet recovered his corporeal body because of the lack of soul-gathering Immortal Lotus. Tang Hua nodded, yes, but not entirely. My grandfather has made a great contribution to the Radiant Heavens and is one of the candidates. My grandfather loves me and allows me to choose. Ning Qing calmed down and spoke with a calm tone. Since it's the Radiant Treasury, why don't you just pick the good ones? Isn't it not much different from knowing the materials? Tang Hua shook her head. It's not like that. Before entering the treasury, there is an inspection round. All the people who are eligible to enter the treasury have to pass the inspection before they are eligible to enter the treasury. As for the inspection topic, it is to identify a variety of materials. So that was the case. Although Ning Qing still had some doubts, he did not ask again. Ning Qing did not ask, but Tang Hua continued to explain. There are a total of 20 people who are eligible to enter the treasury. Among these 20 people, only 10 people who pass the inspection can really enter the treasury. Among these 10 people, the first can choose 5 materials. The second and third can choose 3 materials. The 4th to 6th can choose 2 materials, while the 7th to 10th can only choose 1 material. Because the powerful artifact crafting masters of the sacred domain have already been selected. I heard that Grandmaster Zhong Jing is in the Warsong Imperial Domain, so I specifically came to find Grandmaster Zhong Jing. Is that Grandmaster Zhong Jing an artifact crafting Grandmaster? Ning Qing asked casually. Tang Hua replied, yes, Grandmaster Zhong Jing is one of the most famous artifact crafting Grandmasters in my Bright Light sect. Unfortunately, his whereabouts are uncertain. I believe that you didn't look for me before to ask me to help you choose the materials, right? Ning Qing looked at Tang Hua and asked. He was just a small rogue cultivator. If someone said that Tang Hua would ask him to participate in such an important selection, he would never believe it. Tang Hua spoke the truth, it is indeed so. When I first came to find you, it was mainly because your spiritual consciousness was very hidden. I wanted to figure out your origin. After I came in, I suddenly felt that in just 3 days, your strength seemed to have improved a lot compared to before. I took out the materials to test you, but I didn't expect you to even know Bubai. So, I wanted to ask you for help. Ning Qing understood what Tang Hua meant. This woman had not found Grandmaster Zhong Jing. Even if she looked for another artifact crafting master, she would still lose. Because she doubted herself, she casually tested him. As I said before, why should I help you? Ning Qing had already decided to take action. The Radiant Treasury, to put it bluntly, the things stored in it were equivalent to half of the universe. As long as you can help me enter the top 6, I will agree to let you choose a material from the treasury that belongs to you. If it is after the 6th place, you can also propose a reward. Tang Hua knew that Ning Qing was talking about the reward. As for the 6th place and above, there was only one material, which she naturally would not give to Ning Qing. Ning Qing nodded, okay, it's settled. But if I can get the 1st place, I need 3 materials. No problem. Tang Hua agreed to Ning Qing's request without hesitation. It was basically impossible for Ning Qing to get the 1st place, because the Radiant Bright Sun also had a top-notch artifact crafting Grand Master. For Tang Hua, whether Ning Qing got the 1st place or the 2nd place, she could only get 2 materials. However, the essence was completely different, because the 1st place could be the first to enter the treasury to choose the materials, while the 2nd place could only be the second to enter the treasury to choose the materials. After Tang Hua and Ning Qing finished the transaction, they left directly. Ning Qing was afraid that Liz would come to harass him again, so he simply hung up the "Do Not Disturb Cultivation" sign. Although the Moran Royal Region was the closest royal region to the Radiant Bright Sun Sacred Domain, it was even closer than some parts of the Sacred Domain. But from the Moran Royal Region to the Sacred Domain, it would take more than 2 years. Ning Qing decided to complete at least the first step of Dao confirming within these 2 years. Just as Ning Qing had guessed, Liz found this place the moment Ning Qing chose to go into seclusion. Ning Cheng's room was completely covered with restrictions and a "Do Not Disturb" warning. Therefore, Liz didn't want to disturb Ning Qing. After all, she had personally said that Ning Qing was now Tang Hua's guard. Because of the large number of people on the flight-type weapon, it was bustling with all kinds of shops. After Ning Qing boarded the ship, he only talked to Tang Hua for a while and never left the room again. No matter how bustling the ship was, he wasn't in the mood to go shopping. 5 months passed by quickly, and Ning Qing finally perfected a part of his cultivation method. His cultivation also directly stepped into the Dao sculpting realm. On this day, Ning Qing was thinking about whether to step into the Dao birth realm immediately or wait until he obtained the Darkness Origin bead to perfect the mysterious yellow formless before stepping into the Dao birth realm. Suddenly, the room shook violently. Ning Qing stopped cultivating and stood up. At the same time, his spiritual consciousness swept out. Apart from the slight tremors when it took off, the ship remained very stable. There was only one explanation for this kind of violent shaking. That was, someone was attacking it. Chapter 1404. Ning Qing initially thought that it was a powerful group of bandits intercepting them, but after talking to Tang Hua, he came to know that there were many bandits in this place. Because of this, some of the powerful people would always bring a few guards with them when they went out. But when Ning Qing swept out with his spiritual consciousness, he realized that this was not an individual group of bandits, but an army of bandits besieging them. Tens of thousands of uniformed fellows had forced the giant ship to stop. Although there were tens of thousands of guards and passengers on the ship, but each of them was fighting separately, and was not a match for this bandit army. As the bandit army closed in on them in the form of a trap and kill array, groups of guards and passengers were killed. Some of the passengers on the ship, seeing that the situation was not good, turned around and began to flee. Although the bandit army was strong, it could not seal off this space. Moreover, this bandit army seemed to have a purpose, allowing the insignificant people to escape. For a time, more and more people escaped. In just a short time, except for a few passengers protected by many guards, who could not escape from the bandit army, most of the people had already escaped. Among the few people targeted by the bandit army, Liz and Tang Hua, as well as the head of the giant ship, were also trapped by the bandits and could not escape. Obviously, these bandits knew that these people were the ones with the most profit. Ning Qing saw that the guards around Tang Hua were getting fewer and fewer, while the strongest among them, Wang Fu Xiu, was guarding Liz. He could not help but sigh in his heart. Huang Fu Xiu used to be Tang Hua's guard, but now that he had been transferred to Liz, he did not care about Tang Hua's safety. Apart from that, these guards did not escape. The reason why Ning Qing wondered why the guards did not escape was because he did not understand the guard system in this place. Strictly speaking, he was not a guard. Because real guards had to register. For example, after he became Liz's guard, he had to go to the Mo Luan Imperial Region or the Warsong Imperial Domain to register as Liz's guard. Once you became a guard, as long as the person you were protecting died, you would also have to die. Every guard had a mark on their body, so even if you escaped far away, you would still be hunted down and killed. In the entire bright sky, there was such a group of assassins who specialized in hunting down guards. Taking a step back, even if the mark on your body was removed, you could only live incognito. Otherwise, no matter where you went, you would be hunted down and killed. Because Liz had forgotten about Ning Qing, she did not take him to register as a guard. Later, she was in a hurry to go to the sacred domain and did not do it. Fortunately, Liz C did not do it. If Liz C dared to take Ning Qing to make a guard imprint, Ning Qing would never have sat on this ship. He would not hesitate to refuse to take the guard mark and go to the sacred domain alone. To find the sacred domain. Once Ning Qing refused, there would be a battle. No guard would dare to refuse to make the guard mark, as such one could imagine that Ning Qing would definitely go on a killing spree in that battle. Tang Hua, with disheveled hair, saw Ning Qing coming out with chasing bull and anxiously moved towards Ning Qing. Qing of that the more people would to of the people. She that, the more to the people to the people. Seeing that Liz was about to be overwhelmed by the numerous bandits, Ning Qing could only sigh and walk over. Long Qing to see, he. Qing did not to that he. Of Tang. Tang of Qing, Qing to Hua Tang people, and the Tang. Qing of Qing time. Of time. The faint light wheels were like the flow of time, taking away all traces of the battle. Swish. In front of the faint time wheel, apart from a faint layer of blood mist, there was only a spacious gap. It felt like a place washed away by a flood, without any obstacles. Ning Qing was infinitely close to the Dao birth realm. Therefore, facing this army of starry sky cultivators led by only a few Dao sculpting and Dao birth realm cultivators, he could easily fight them. The cultivator army here had not even reached Dao sculpting. Therefore, they relied on the attacks of the trap and kill arrays. Moreover, these trap and kill arrays were always effective against Dao sculpting cultivators like Fu Tanghua. But in front of Ning Qing, they were full of loopholes. Every time he shot out would hit the weakest point of the trap and kill array. With Ning Qing's cultivation, dozens of time wheels would open up a wide space in front of him. Of the tens of thousands of bandits, more than 1,000 had fallen under his casual attacks. Apart from Ning Qing's time wheels being too powerful, Ning Qing's proficiency in the Dao of array formations was more important. As the powerful aura of time filled the air, everyone felt shocked by Ning Qing's attacks. The bandit leader finally understood that he had kicked an iron wall this time. This fellow had killed so many of his people with just a few time wheels. If it continued, his bandit army would be completely wiped out. Retreat. In fact, the bandit leader didn't need to speak at all. The bandit army had already started to collapse. The bandits only relied on the array formation. Once the array formation broke, even if Ning Qing didn't do anything, these bandits wouldn't be able to crush the people on the ship. At most, both sides would suffer. It felt like a dream. The bandit army, which had just faced the threat of death, retreated in a short time, leaving behind only a mess. Tang Hua finally reacted and hurriedly walked up to Ning Qing and bowed. Many thanks for Brother Ning's help this time. I didn't expect to encounter a bandit army. She truly didn't expect that a bandit army would rarely appear. Most of the time, they only appeared for treasures or accumulated resources. From this, she understood that someone on the ship carried treasures, which the bandit army found out about. Ning Qing showed a smile. It's nothing. Besides, we're all on the same ship. Many thanks for this friend's help. I'm Deacon Qing Yong. This friend's cultivation is earth-shattering. Qing Yong had neglected you before, please. Another man came up to Ning Qing and thanked him. Ning Qing stopped him. I told you, we're all on the same boat. There's no need to be polite. Ning Qing knew very well that if it weren't for this bandit army, but a motley crew besieging him, his time wheels wouldn't have such an effect. But because the bandit army's attack array was full of flaws in his eyes, it allowed him to be so relaxed. At this time, several more passengers with many guards came up to thank Ning Qing. One of them was a fat man wearing a scarlet robe, which caught Ning Qing's attention. This man was sandwiched in the middle of the crowd and looked inconspicuous. Moreover, under the siege of the bandit army, he also suffered some injuries, along with more than half of his guards. However, Ning Qing felt that this man looked the most relaxed among the many survivors. If one only looked at his appearance, this fat man had small eyes and slightly crowded facial features. Obviously, he wasn't an open-minded person. It was not normal for a person who wasn't open-minded to look so open-minded. This fellow was most likely the target of these bandits. Maybe he had some treasures on him that the bandits wanted. Ning Qing, why don't you come to my side? Liz also came over and looked at Ning Qing with a complicated look in her eyes. She felt extreme regret in her heart for exchanging Ning Qing for Huang Fuxiu. Huang Fuxiu was a good person, but compared to Ning Qing, it was like the difference between a chicken and a phoenix. After saying this, Liz looked at Tang Hua. She thought that Tang Hua was the biggest obstacle to letting Ning Qing come to her side. She was ready to wait for Tang Hua to speak and find a way to make Tang Hua agree. Ning Qing suddenly frowned. Who did this woman think she was? Tang Hua, on seeing Ning Qing frown, suddenly spoke up, Sister Liz, I now know that Brother Ning isn't a guard. You hid it from me for a long time and made me suffer a loss. All guards have to register themselves and then put a guard's mark on them. Brother Ning didn't register himself. This was the result of her investigation after she reached a deal with Ning Qing. When Ning Qing heard this, he immediately understood. Tang Hua was speaking up for him. Since he hadn't registered himself, he couldn't be considered as a guard. He didn't think that guards would have to register themselves and then put a guard's mark on them. If he knew about such a thing, he would never have registered himself or put a mark on himself. It's nothing, Ning Qing. We'll soon arrive at the Warsong Imperial Domain. Let's go to the Warsong Imperial Domain to register ourselves. Liz looked at Ning Qing with a charming look. Ning Qing was speechless. This woman was crazy. I can go all the way to the sacred domain, but I'm not interested in registering as a guard. Ning Qing rejected Liz without hesitation. Liz looked at Ning Qing in surprise. Even if Ning Qing's spirit technique was very powerful, Ning Qing's strength was nothing compared to some powerhouses. How could a rogue cultivator from the mortal domain dare to refuse her words? At this moment, another flight-type weapon came over. Everyone immediately became alert. After all, they were almost robbed by the bandit army. But Liz spoke up with joy, everyone, don't worry. My father sent someone to pick me up. Ning Qing knew that Liz's true identity was the daughter of Jiang Gong from the Warsong Imperial Domain. Jiang Gong was the imperial emperor of the Warsong Imperial Domain. Since he sent someone to pick up Liz, then he should have heard the news of the bandit army. Sure enough, after the flight-type weapon landed, several powerhouses came to Liz's side and respectfully welcomed Liz up. Sister Tang Hua, let's go together. Liz invited Tang Hua, who was standing on the side. Ning Qing understood Liz's meaning. He was now with Tang Hua. As long as Tang Hua went up, he would definitely go up. However, Ning Qing didn't plan to go up. Even if Tang Hua went up, he wouldn't go up. The people who came to pick up Liz were all powerhouses. Ning Qing didn't fear them, but he also wouldn't be stupid enough to sit on their flight-type weapon. Tang Hua showed a slight smile and looked at Ning Cheng before asking, "Brother Ning, what do you think?" Ning Cheng calmly replied, "I won't go up. We can meet in the sacred domain." Ning Cheng was ready to ask Tang Hua for the map to the sacred domain. If Tang Hua didn't give it to him, then he would have to give up on this cooperation and find another way to go to the sacred domain. Tang Hua gave an "N" sound and said to Liz, "The bandit army's attack was most likely caused by me. I won't go up. Sister Liz, let's meet in the sacred domain." Chapter 1405. Ning Cheng made it clear that he didn't want to go, but Tang Hua's tone clearly indicated that she wanted to go with Ning Cheng. Liz had no choice but to agree to meet Tang Hua at the sacred domain before leaving with the Warsong Imperial Domain's escort airship. After Liz left, Deacon Ching Yong quickly came over and invited Ning Cheng and Tang Hua to board. Ning Cheng, however, didn't plan to board the ship. If the fat man really had a top-grade treasure on him, then sitting with this guy on the ship would be equivalent to helping someone else as a guard for free. "No, I have my own flight-type weapon." Ning Cheng refused without hesitation. Previously, he only took the ship for safety reasons. But now that Ning Cheng's cultivation had recovered to the Dao sculpting realm, the ship was not only slow, but it also had no safety at all. It might even implicate him. Only a fool would continue to take the ship. Ching Yong then looked at Tang Hua, who spoke up apologetically, "Deacon Cheng, I think I've implicated everyone this time. I have a small radiant treasure chariot on me. I'm afraid that my treasure chariot attracted those bandits." After listening to Tang Hua's words, Ching Yong remained silent. Radiant treasure chariots were very precious, even small ones. Without a radiant treasure chariot, one couldn't cross the sacred domain river. Without crossing the sacred domain river, one couldn't go to the radiant sacred domain. Only Ning Cheng guessed that this time, the bandit army most likely had nothing to do with the radiant treasure chariot. Perhaps the radiant treasure chariot was precious, but Ning Cheng didn't believe that tens of thousands of bandits would mobilize just for a small radiant treasure chariot. "In that case, Miss Tang Hua will come with me." Ning Cheng turned around and walked away. He didn't intend to bring out the starry sky wheel here. "Senior, please wait a moment. I'm willing to pay several times the fare. I only ask that Senior take me with you." The fat man saw Ning Cheng turn around and hurriedly followed. After the man came over, the rest of the people looked at Ning Cheng's side. Obviously, they all knew that Ning Cheng was the strongest. With Ning Cheng around, there was no need to fear bandits. "Sorry, my flight-type weapon is very small. You're too heavy. My flight-type weapon can't carry you," Ning Cheng said with a calm voice. The fat man wanted to speak, but Ning Cheng's eyes turned cold. "Do you want me to speak?" The obese man on hearing Ning Cheng's words couldn't help but tremble, before he quickly bowed and spoke, "Since it is not convenient for Senior, then this junior will take his leave." Although Ning Cheng rejected the fat man, no one was willing to come up and be rejected by Ning Cheng again. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Ning Cheng, who had just left the giant ship, brought out the starry sky wheel and spoke to Tang Hua. "Miss Tang Hua, please give me a copy of the positional map, so that I can control the flight-type magical weapon in a hurry." Tang Hua did not hesitate to take out a positional jade strip and handed it to Ning Cheng. "Elder brother Ning, did you also see that there was a problem with that person?" Ning Cheng knew that the person that Tang Hua was talking about was the obese man, and from the meaning of Tang Hua's words, it was obvious that she could see that there was something wrong with the obese man. He replied noncommittally, "I never bring strangers with me on my flying artifact." Tang Hua glanced at the remaining 7 guards behind him, and spoke in an apologetic manner, "Elder brother Ning, my guards are all loyal to me, then come up together." Ning Cheng nodded. These guards were indeed very loyal to Tang Hua. Tang Hua had never seen the starry sky wheel before, but when the starry sky wheel activated, her expressions changed a little. She also had a flying magic treasure, and her speed was also faster than the huge ship. However, compared to Ning Cheng's flight-type weapon, her flight-type weapon felt like garbage. Originally, it was estimated that it would take more than a year to reach the edge of the sacred domain river. But with Ning Cheng's current speed, it would only take a month at most. However, Tang Hua still guessed wrong. In just half a month, the starry sky will reach the edge of the sacred domain river. Although she felt very curious and eager about Ning Cheng's flight-type weapon, Tang Hua still held back from asking Ning Cheng about it. She felt even more sure that Ning Cheng's origin was not ordinary. Moreover, the things he did were not something a rogue cultivator from the mortal realm could do. Whether it was the starry sky wheel or Ning Cheng's sweeping spirit technique that contained the aura of time, both were powerful means that bright radiance had never seen before. Standing by the sacred domain river, Ning Cheng felt a little surprised. He had seen too many strange rivers, the Blood River under the Futility Bridge, the Black River under the Permitha Bridge, the Milky Way in the Void, but he had never seen a river like the Sacred Domain River. Even with his spiritual consciousness, he couldn't sweep to the edge of the Sacred Domain River. The water of the Sacred Domain River looked a little green. But these were not unusual. What was unusual was that the surface of the Sacred Domain River looked as if it had a layer of ice, without even the slightest ripple. Moreover, the wind around it was not small. Logically speaking, the larger the surface of the water, the bigger the waves. However, he had never seen a river without even the slightest ripple like the Sacred Domain River before. Brother Ning, no weapon can cross the Sacred Domain River except for the Radiant Treasure Chariot. Seeing Ning Cheng standing at the edge of the Sacred Domain River, Tang Hua walked over and whispered. After that, she brought out her Radiant Treasure Chariot. It was Ning Cheng's first time seeing the Radiant Treasure Chariot, and it didn't look very big. Ning Cheng looked inside through the restrictions and found about 40 to 50 seats inside. No wonder he had heard that the number of spots to enter the Radiant Sacred Domain was limited. This limited should mean that Tang Hua's Radiant Treasure Chariot had a limited number of seats. Is it necessary to ride the Radiant Treasure Chariot to cross the Sacred Domain River? Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness carefully penetrated the Sacred Domain River to see if there was anything strange about it. Yes, the Radiant Treasure Chariot is made from indeterminate light stones. Indeterminate light stones are extremely rare. Indeterminate light stone? Ning Cheng immediately interrupted Tang Hua's words. At this moment, he was already quite knowledgeable. Do you mean the indeterminate light stones condensed from the indeterminate black water? Tang Hua nodded, that's right. The indeterminate black water is a priceless treasure. It would be even more difficult to find the indeterminate light stones from the indeterminate black water. Ning Cheng agreed with Tang Hua's words. The indeterminate black water was ranked 7th among the innate 10 waters, which showed how rare the indeterminate light stones were. Brother Ning, please get on board. After Tang Hua finished speaking, she reached out and invited Ning Cheng to board the Radiant Treasure Chariot. After Ning Cheng and Chasing Bull boarded the Radiant Treasure Chariot, Tang Hua made a few hand gestures, and the Radiant Treasure Chariot's protective restrictions turned off. The chariot then rushed into the Sacred Domain River. Seeing that Ning Cheng didn't go to the inner cabin, Tang Hua also came to the front of the Radiant Treasure Chariot and pointed to the calm river outside the Radiant Treasure Chariot's restrictions. Brother Ning, this Sacred Domain River is very strange. Except for the Radiant Treasure Chariot, any flight-type weapons that pass through it would get sucked into the Sacred Domain River and disappear. Since ancient times, some powerhouses have gone down to investigate it, but as long as they entered the Sacred Domain River, none of them could come out. Ning Cheng felt secretly surprised when he heard this. Bright Radiance naturally had many powerhouses, but for so many years, no one could enter the Sacred Domain River and come out. Just how powerful was this Sacred Domain River? However, whether his spiritual consciousness penetrated the surface of the Sacred Domain River or the bottom of the Sacred Domain River, he couldn't find any abnormalities. Apart from his spiritual consciousness not being able to reach the bottom of the Sacred Domain River, everything else seemed normal. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness was just about to grab a clump of the Sacred Domain River's water to take a look when the originally calm river surface suddenly changed and started tumbling violently. Especially under the Radiant Treasure Chariot, the tumbling turned even more violent. The tumbling waves were still a distance away from the Radiant Treasure Chariot, but the Radiant Treasure Chariot started shaking violently. Tang Hua's expression changed and quickly spoke up, Brother Ning, you can't absorb the river water here." Without Tang Hua's words, Ning Cheng had already retracted his spiritual consciousness and gave up on the idea of absorbing the river water. After a while, the tumbling waves under the radiant treasure chariot slowly disappeared, and the sacred domain river returned to its original calmness. Feeling the waves disappear, Tang Hua spoke up with lingering fear, "Brother Ning, this river water must not be touched. Once it is touched, it would be difficult for us to get out of the sacred domain river. Today, we were lucky that it did not affect the radiant treasure chariot." Ning Cheng nodded, indicating that he understood. Although he did not take out a clump of the sacred domain river's water, he already had a plan in his heart. Once he fully recovered his strength, he would come back to take a look at the sacred domain river. Ning Cheng guessed that the sacred domain river was not as simple as it looked on the surface. He had only intended to absorb a clump of water, yet the sacred domain river had already turned so violent. "Miss Tang Hua, if we go in one direction, how long would it take for us to reach the end of this mainland?" Ning Cheng thought that as long as he reached the sacred domain, it would not be a problem for him to restore his cultivation. The key was how to find the cosmic surface and then leave this place. Tang Hua looked at the sacred domain river under the radiant treasure chariot with some worry before shaking her head and speaking to Ning Cheng, "Whether we go from the radiant heaven or the dark heaven, there's no end to this place we're in. The closer to the edge, the more desolate it becomes, and the less essence chi there is. Therefore, very few people would go there. The radiant heaven and the dark heaven should be the most suitable places for cultivation." Ning Cheng thought to himself, "Sure enough, there is no end." It meant that even if they flew upwards, there would not be an end. This side of the universe really was a continent. With such a large continent, according to theory, the gravity must have been terrifying. However, the gravity here was even lower than that of an average planet. The mysteries of the universe really could not be explained with the knowledge he had learned. The radiant treasure chariot sped along, and after nearly half a year, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept across another vast continent. Ning Cheng felt a more distinct aura of the laws of darkness and light. Ning Cheng understood that this should be the sacred domain. "Brother Ning, this is the periphery of the radiant sacred domain. There are still a few years before we enter the radiant treasury. Do you want to enter the radiant sacred domain with me, or do you want to act alone?" After seeing Ning Cheng's power, Tang Hua did not dare to show even half a shred of disrespect in front of Ning Cheng. "Many thanks, Miss Tang Hua. Thank you for taking me into the radiant sacred domain. After reaching the sacred domain, I will leave alone." Ning Cheng thanked her with cupped fists. The first thing he would do after arriving at the radiant sacred domain was to find Nong Shirua and see if he could get his hands on the darkness origin bead. If he could get his hands on it, then after a few years, he would have enough time to restore his strength. Chapter 1406. Tang Hua listened to Ning Cheng's words. After taking Ning Cheng to the radiant sacred domain, she left the communication pearl with Ning Cheng and left alone. Although the radiant sacred domain didn't have any cities, nor did it seem to have any defensive arrays on the surface, Ning Cheng could feel the radiant sacred domain's defensive grand array as soon as he came in. It was just that this defensive grand array hadn't been activated yet. Entering the radiant sacred domain, Ning Cheng clearly felt that the heaven and earth essence chi here was much richer than outside, and the laws of heaven and earth here were much clearer. Sweeping out with his divine sense, he found all sorts of caves, markets, merchant houses. The radiant sacred domain didn't have any cities on the surface, but it was no less prosperous than any of the sacred cities in the grand essence realm. Some places where people gathered could even be comparable to the beyond of heaven and earth. Through Tang Hua's introduction and the directional jade strip, Ning Cheng now understood that the radiant sacred domain was just a collective name for all the sacred domains of the radiant heavenly saint. There was also the first sacred region in the radiant sacred region. The first sacred region was the Sacred Lord region. The Sage Lord region was where the radiant bright Saint Lord resided. More than 60% of the radiant sky's strongest experts were gathered here. Not only was this the most prosperous place in the entire luminous heavens, but it was also the place with the densest God's spiritual energy for cultivation. At this time, Ning Cheng had already arrived at the sacred master domain. Based on Nong Shirua's location, he found a rest stop near the makeshift market. The inn was very ordinary, it was called 9 Reliance Inn. The only advantage was that it was close to Nong Shirua's residence. Ning Cheng only had one purpose for coming here, and that was to visit Nong Shirua. Back then, Nong Shimu was the #1 expert of the Radiant Sacred World. Naturally, he lived in the best place in the Radiant Sacred World. The best place in the Holy Region was the Holy Lord region. After Nong Shimu's death, Nong Shirua had never left. If Nong Shirua was willing to trade with him, that would be for the best. If not, he was prepared to make a different deal with her. He didn't want the Darkness Origin bead. All he wanted was for the Darkness Origin bead to study. Since there were so many cultivation jade strips in the Radiant Holy Domain, Ning Cheng easily bought a bunch of them in major marketplaces and merchant houses. To Ning Cheng's regret, he could not find any introduction to this side of the universe. He couldn't even find a jade slip that introduced this universe, let alone a jade slip that introduced the face of the universe. Not to mention these jade strips, Ning Cheng couldn't even find a few introductory jade strips about the sacred domain river. What he found was similar to what Tang Hua had said, there was nothing special about it, which made Ning Cheng very disappointed. For half a month, Ning Cheng wandered around the makeshift market, and sometimes even went to participate in 1 or 2 auctions, but still found nothing. After more than half a month of searching, Ning Cheng decided not to waste any more time. He wanted to pay a visit to Nong Shirua. If he really couldn't get the origin bead, he planned to use this period of time to refine his cultivation technique. He would first assimilate the laws here and recover his cultivation. As for the 5-colored splitter star square, it was naturally the last place they would go. Nong Shirua didn't live in a bustling place, but it wasn't very remote either. On the outskirts of her residence, there was a wide road. When Ning Cheng arrived at the entrance of Nong Shirua's immortal cave, he felt completely disappointed. Nong Shirua's immortal cave was completely sealed. The outside of the cave mansion was blocked by a powerful defensive restriction, and even spiritual sense could not penetrate it. Nong Shirua's cave abode not only had the strongest defensive array, it also had a warning to not disturb while she was in seclusion. If he wanted to go in and find Nong Shirua, he would have to force his way through this defensive array. As a cultivator, no one would ignore this warning and force their way into the immortal cave. What's more, this immortal cave was located in the Sacred Lord region. Forcing his way through would only lead to death. Ning Cheng felt a little lost. He lowered his head and slowly walked past Nong Shirua's immortal cave, thinking about how he could see Nong Shirua. Ning Cheng didn't walk very fast, but a few cultivators quickly overtook Ning Cheng and walked to the front. Ning Cheng didn't care about it. Although there weren't many people walking on this road, there were still some. Just as Ning Cheng was about to turn around and go back, another figure hurriedly passed by his side. But this time, Ning Cheng immediately noticed this figure. This person's aura was a little off. Ning Cheng possessed the mysterious yellow bead and cultivated the good fortune origin cultivation method. As such, he was extremely sensitive to the Tao charm aura of heaven and earth. What's more, he had only come into contact with cultivators from this side of the universe. Ning Cheng's gaze fell on the person who had just passed by, and he didn't hesitate to put a spiritual sense imprint on this person. It had been more than a year since he came to this side of the universe, so Ning Cheng was very familiar with the cultivation aura here. The 5 elements aura of this cultivator didn't come from this side of the universe, but from the 5 elements universe. It was just that this person had been here for a long time and had completely recovered his cultivation. At this moment, his cultivation should be at the late-stage primordial chaos realm. Ning Cheng still wanted to leave this side of the universe, so he naturally wouldn't let go of this fellow who came from the same universe as him. Ning Cheng didn't chase after him. Instead, he left a spiritual sense imprint. No matter how far this fellow ran, he would still be able to find him. He didn't care about a late-stage primordial chaos sacred emperor. He also didn't touch the restrictions of Nong Shirua's immortal cave and simply returned to the rest stop. Ning Cheng hadn't even entered the rest stop when he felt the spiritual sense imprint he had made approaching him. Obviously, the man with the spiritual sense imprint had walked past Nong Shirua's immortal cave and come back. This was definitely a stepping stone. When Ning Cheng saw this person in the market, he knew that this person must have the same thoughts as him about the darkness origin bead. Ning Cheng hadn't expected that this fellow would stay in the same rest stop as him, the 9 Reliance rest stop. This made Ning Cheng less anxious. If this fellow wanted to make a move on Nong Shirua, he would naturally take the opportunity to fish in troubled waters. His strength was still a little weak, so Ning Cheng decided to raise his strength to the Tao Birth Realm first. Once he reached the Tao Birth Realm, as long as he integrated the Darkness Law, it would be easy for him to deal with a late-stage Primordial Chaos Sacred Emperor. 2 days passed quickly. On the 3rd day, Ning Cheng once again sensed this fellow leave the rest stop. Just as Ning Cheng had expected, this fellow walked around the entrance of Nong Shirua's immortal cave and didn't do anything. After a month, Ning Cheng found out that this fellow was called Zhou Xing and had been staying in the 9 Reliance rest stop for almost 3 months. This fellow was really patient. He had stayed here for almost half a year just to step on others. When the 2nd month passed, Ning Cheng recovered to the Tao Birth Realm. The first thing Ning Cheng did when he got up from cultivation was to use his spiritual consciousness to infiltrate Zhou Xing's room and search for his whereabouts. When Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness penetrated the defensive restrictions of Zhou Xing's room, he didn't see Zhou Xing. He immediately stood up and left the rest stop in a hurry. He knew that Zhou Xing was definitely ready to make a move. Usually, when Zhou Xing left, his white fox companion beast would be in the companion beast room. This time, however, his companion beast wasn't there. The sky outside was overcast. Although the thick fog didn't hinder spiritual consciousness, not many people were willing to come out in such weather. Ning Cheng guessed that Zhou Xing had already chosen the time. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so coincidental. He had been in the Radiant Sacred Region for so many days, but he had never seen such overcast weather. Under normal circumstances, the Radiant Sacred Region was sunny, and there might not even be a sun hanging in the sky. After Ning Cheng walked out of the market square, he realized that it wasn't that no one came out, but that too many people came out. Most people surrounded the cave abode where Nong Shirua cultivated. Nong Shirua's cave abode's restriction had already been broken, and there were still several experts guarding it. Could it be that this fellow had already succeeded? That didn't seem possible. Regardless of Nong Shirua's strength, according to Tang Hua, an ordinary person wouldn't be able to succeed, let alone a late-stage primordial chaos cultivator like Zhou Xing. Ning Cheng had also seen the restriction on Nong Shirua's cave abode. Even he couldn't easily break it in a short time. "Friend, what happened?" Ning Cheng walked up to a cultivator and asked in a low voice. The cultivator glanced at Ning Cheng inside. Alas, treasures really move people's hearts. Senior Gnome contributed so much to our Radiant Sacred Region, yet someone dared to make a move on his daughter. Before the cultivator could finish his sentence, he realized that Ning Cheng, who had just asked him a question, had already disappeared. Ning Cheng had already left the Sacred Lord region. The reason why he didn't stay here was that the trace of spiritual consciousness imprint he left behind had already escaped. This guy really succeeded. How could a puny primordial chaos sacred emperor succeed? Although Ning Cheng was hurrying along, he felt very puzzled in his heart. Ning Cheng's speed was extremely fast. In just half a day, his spiritual consciousness found Zhou Xing. Zhou Xing didn't suffer any injuries and was just moving stealthily. When Ning Cheng saw this guy's movements, he immediately knew that this guy was following someone. He didn't know if Zhou Xing had any high-grade storage artifact, but Ning Cheng was sure that Zhou Xing didn't have the darkness origin bead. Ning Cheng hadn't seen the darkness origin bead before, but he knew that if Zhou Xing had it, he would definitely be able to sense it with his sensitivity to origin aura. Unless Zhou Xing had a good fortune treasure of the same grade as the mysterious yellow bead, but Ning Cheng guessed that it was unlikely. After following for another hour, Ning Cheng completely understood what was going on. Several black silhouettes appeared in the range of his divine sense, and they hurriedly fled under the gray sky. In the middle of these figures, one of them was holding a thin woman in his hand. Ning Qing immediately sensed the aura of the darkness origin aura from the woman. This woman was Nong Shirua, and the group of figures holding her were the ones who had come to snatch the darkness origin bead. Zhou Xing had acted a step too late and could only follow them. In that instant, Ning Qing made a judgment on the matter. Ning Qing couldn't help but admire Zhou Xing's courage. The person who had grabbed Nong Shirua should have an early-stage Dao integration cultivation level. Coupled with the many helpers around, Zhou Xing, who was a late-stage primordial chaos cultivator, had dared to chase after them. However, Ning Qing still had some doubts. According to Tang Hua, even if the other party was an early-stage Dao integration cultivator, Nong Shirua shouldn't have been able to break into her cave abode and capture her. Chapter 1407. Ning Qing followed behind. Not only did he not understand why Nong Shirua had been taken away, but he also admired Zhou Xing's tracking ability. Zhou Xing was just a late-stage primordial chaos expert, yet he had been able to follow Dao integration realm experts all the way here without being discovered. Zhou Xing was different from him. Although he was at the Dao birth realm, his true realm was far higher than these people. Moreover, he cultivated in the Origins cultivation method. Although there were some differences between the 5 elemental origins and the origins here, the laws of darkness that Dao Lord Darkness had imparted to him allowed him to completely blend into this space, allowing him to follow behind these people silently. These people were extremely fast, as if they had merged into the fog. Ning Qing followed them and gradually moved away from the light sacred region. They seemed to know that they could not make too much noise. As they escaped in the fog, there were very few spatial fluctuations. Ning Qing thought that if he had not left a spiritual consciousness imprint on Zhou Xing, he would not have been able to find these people through spatial fluctuations. A few hours later, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept into a huge canyon. According to the spiritual consciousness imprint on Zhou Xing, he knew that this group of black-robed men had escaped directly into the canyon. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept in, but his spiritual consciousness could not sweep too far in this canyon. Clearly, this canyon could isolate spiritual consciousness. Ning Cheng also understood that these people wanted to use this canyon to avoid being tracked. Ning Cheng did not know what canyon this was at first, but when he entered it, he guessed that this should be the Light Sacred Region's Thunder God Canyon. In this canyon, the aura of the Thunder Attribute Law was particularly rich. There were even some flashes of lightning in the depths of the canyon. Ning Qing did not expect the Thunder God Canyon to be so close to the Light Sacred Region. Although a few hours' journey was impossible for an ordinary person to reach in a lifetime. For those Dao validation experts, it was really not a road. According to Tang Hua, the Darkness Origin bead had originally been found in the Thunder God Canyon. After traveling in the Thunder God Canyon for nearly half a day, Ning Qing sighed at the vastness of the Thunder God Canyon. There were countless forks in the canyon. It seemed that after entering each fork, there was only a fork and no end. Ning Qing frowned a little. He planned to follow them for another hour. If these people continued to escape, he was prepared to speed up and stop them. Not even an hour had passed. In just half an incense's time, the group of black-robed men stopped. Ning Qing used his spiritual force imprint to scan the black-robed men. Including the early-stage Dao integration cultivator holding Nong Shirua, there were a total of 5 people. The early-stage Dao integration cultivator tossed Nong Shirua onto a flat piece of land in the middle of the canyon. The other 4 cultivators surrounded her from all sides. After this group of people stopped, Zhou Xing also quietly hid in a corner of the canyon. If he had not placed a spiritual consciousness imprint on Zhou Xing's body, then he might not have been able to detect Zhou Xing's traces. This fellow's concealment technique was simply too outstanding. "Tell me, how can I get the Darkness Origin bead?" the early-stage Dao integration man asked mildly as he looked at Nong Shirua, who he had thrown to the ground. Only now did Ning realize that Nong Shirua's Darkness Origin bead had been hidden. It seemed that without Nong Shirua's consent, these people would not be able to obtain it. Nong Shirua stood up and patted the dust off her body. She did not seem to know that no matter what she said, she would die today. Just the 6 of you. To everyone's surprise, Nong Shirua said something completely irrelevant. What did you say? The Tao Integration Sacred Emperor looked at Nong Shirua in confusion. There were clearly 5 of them. Moreover, Nong Shirua should not be talking about this. She should be talking about how to take out the darkness origin bead. Nong Shirua did not say anything else. She turned slightly, and a dark aura that could not be detected by spiritual senses swept out from her body. This dark aura swept through the space in the shortest time possible. Ning Cheng's heart sank. He immediately retracted his spiritual sense. This was the aura of the true darkness law. Even though this powerful darkness Tao rune was not targeted at him, he could still feel an extreme black oppression. The space was completely enveloped by darkness. The 5 experts surrounding Nong Shirua, including the early-stage Tao Integration Sacred Emperor, knew that things were not good. Although the Tao Integration Sacred Emperor was the closest to Nong Shirua, he still had the strength to take out his Dharma treasure. However, he had just taken out his Dharma treasure when he was entangled by indescribable black shadows. Ning Qing did not use his spiritual sense to observe, but he could clearly sense that these were black shadows condensed from the powerful darkness law. Ning Qing sucked in a breath of cold air. Nong Shirua looked like she had just reached the Tao modeling stage, but she was so powerful. To be able to condense the darkness law to this extent, her understanding of the darkness law was no weaker than that of the darkness Tao Lord he had met before. You. The Tao Integration Sacred Emperor had only said one word when the darkness Tao runes entangling him turned into a bloody mist. The shadow lines formed by the darkness law tore the Tao Integration Sacred Emperor apart like spatial dislocation. As for the other 4 primordial chaos cultivators, they did not even make a sound before they were killed by Nong Shirua's darkness law divine ability. Ning Cheng, who was hiding in the dark, thought to himself, this woman is so powerful. The reason why she was abducted by these people was probably intentional. Most likely, the darkness shadow divine ability she condensed was left behind by Nong Shimu to protect her. You've been watching for a long time. Come out. Following Nong Shirua's words, Zhou Xing, who had been hiding in a corner, was dragged out by a shadow line condensed by the darkness law and landed in front of Nong Shirua. Fairy Nong, I accidentally broke into this place. I dare not offend Fairy Nong. Zhou Xing hurriedly cupped his fists. He had just seen Nong Shirua's strength. No matter how powerful he was probably not Nong Shirua's opponent. In fact, he had never intended to use force from the beginning. It was just that his plan had been ruined before it could even begin. This made him feel unlucky. At this time, if he did not know who the 6th person Nong Shirua had mentioned was, he might as well kill himself. Oh, is that so? But I saw you wandering around my cave abode for half a year. What a coincidence. I was kidnapped here, and you're also here. Nong Shirua said sarcastically and raised her hand again. Ning Qing knew that Nong Shirua wanted to kill Zhou Xing, so he prepared to take action. Zhou Xing could not die. This person was still useful to him. At this moment, Ning Qing suddenly heard a voice, my dear niece's methods are truly powerful. Even after falling victim to Ran Tong's vicious spiritual incense-stealing technique, nothing happened to you. You even used Ran Tong's method to leave Bright Heaven. However, you cannot kill this Zhou Xing. He is still useful to me. Ning Qing felt surprised. There was someone else behind him. Just like how Zhou Xing did not notice him, he also did not notice the existence of this person. He did not know if this person knew that he was hiding somewhere. According to reason, this person should not have noticed him. After all, he was following Zhou Xing's spiritual consciousness imprint. However, this kind of thing was not absolute. In case the other party knew of his existence, he would have to be more careful. Nong Shirua was also shocked. She immediately stared at a corner of the void. Zhu Huiyang, you really never let me go, haha. If you can fool me, Zhu Huiyang, with this little trick of yours, then I would not have the face to ask for your darkness origin bead. With a loud laugh, a man wearing purple robes suddenly appeared in front of Nong Shirua and Zhou Xing. Zhu Huiyang, your younger brother Zhu Jin is the Radiant Heaven's sacred lord. How much effort did my father put in for the Radiant Heavens? The reason why my father fell was because he dedicated all his heart and blood to the Radiant Heavens. My father died for the Radiant Heavens, and your Zhu clan is the biggest beneficiary. You're forcing me like this, are you able to face your own conscience? Nong Shirua's eyes flashed with a trace of despair. Ning Qing finally understood. The reason why Nong Shirua did not come out of seclusion was not to guard against others, but to guard against Zhu Huiyang, the younger brother of the Radiant Heaven's sacred lord Zhu Jin. The reason why she allowed herself to be captured by that thief Ran Tong was also intentional. Zhu Huiyang spoke up in a calm tone, "My dear niece, I don't want your life. I don't even want your protective spiritual technique. I only want two things. First, you give me your darkness origin bead. Second, you hand over your father's remains to me." Ha ha ha. Nong Shirua laughed, "Old man, even if I die, I will not let your filthy hands touch my father's remains." Zhu Huiyang did not get angry. Instead, he spoke in a soft voice, "Dear niece, why bother? You've endured for so many years and even managed to figure out your own cultivation method. You've even cultivated to the Tao sculpting realm. You're the true genius, and your future would definitely be much better than mine. Now that you can cultivate, the darkness origin bead doesn't have much use for you. Why not give it to me? If you want to do it, then do it." Even if Nong Shimu's daughter died, she would not kneel down and beg for her life with her father's remains. Nong Shirua snapped. Zhu Huiyang's face sank. "Nong Shirua, do you think that I'm as stupid as Ran Tong? That I can't find the darkness origin bead? As long as I completely refine you, I can refine the darkness origin bead." Nong Shirua's expression changed slightly, but she did not move. Ning Qing secretly praised her. He knew that even if Nong Shirua handed over her father's remains, she would still fall. However, Nong Shirua's temperament made him admire her. From the looks of it, this Zhu Huiyang had entered the third step for a long time. Ning Cheng was very familiar with the third-step world creation realm. He had fought against many third-step experts, but this Zhu Huiyang's third step was not very successful. At best, he was on the same level as Feng Huangmei. Presumably, this fellow knew of his own shortcomings, which was why he wanted the darkness origin bead to improve his world creation realm. Chapter 1408. When Zhu Huiyang saw that Nong Shirua was indifferent, he snorted coldly and a powerful world domain of laws closed in. Creation realm experts had their own realms even if they were in a false realm. Ning Cheng had fought against many world creation realm powerhouses before. Therefore, the moment Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-realm descended, he knew that Zhu Huiyang wanted to take away Zhou Xing and Nong Shirua. If he was at his peak, he could have killed Zhu Huiyang with a single slap. Ning Cheng was very clear that the difference between his current strength and his peak was just too great. Dealing with Zhou Xing was still possible, but dealing with Zhu Huiyang might be a little dangerous. Therefore, Ning Cheng naturally did not want to let Zhu Huiyang take away the darkness origin bead. Just as Ning Cheng was thinking about how to deal with Zhu Huiyang, Nong Shirua made her move. Her body shook violently on the spot, and an endless dark aura came crashing down from the sky. Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-world immediately slowed down. Laws of darkness formed an incomparably oppressive aura that swept towards Zhu Huiyang. Ning Cheng knew that this was the method Nong Shirua used to deal with that early-stage Dao integration cultivator. However, this method might not work on Zhu Huiyang. Indeed, Zhu Huiyang laughed coldly. Amidst the overwhelming black aura, he took a step forward and grabbed Nong Shirua's head. The dark shadow aura that tore the Tao Integration Divine Emperor into several pieces could only reach a distance of 5 feet from Zhu Huiyang before it could advance any further. Even though Zhu Huiyang's palm was slightly slow under the influence of Nong Shirua's laws of darkness sacred art, it did not slow down at all. Although Ning Qing knew that some of Nong Shirua's spirit techniques had been blocked by Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-world boundary, Zhu Huiyang didn't seem to be affected by Nong Shirua's laws of darkness spirit technique at all. This showed that Zhu Huiyang's strength was much higher than his own. Ning Qing felt somewhat tangled in his heart, whether he should start or not. If he were to make a move, it was very likely that he would be trapped. He dared to confirm that the current him was not Zhu Huiyang's match. But there was a knot in his heart if he didn't act. Not to mention that the darkness origin bead was in Nong Shirua's possession. He admired Nong Shirua's personality. A look of despair appeared on Nong Shirua's face as she watched the palm slowly approach the top of her head. If they were in her immortal cave, she would still have the means to break Zhu Huiyang's hand seal sacred art. But here, without the protection of the array formation, she was really powerless. Unfortunately, she was too impatient. If she had waited a little longer, when her cultivation was a little higher, perhaps this wouldn't have happened. As long as Zhu Huiyang's palm landed on Nong Shirua's head, Nong Shirua would be like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Once the difference in strength reached a certain level, Nong Shirua's sacred art would no longer be able to protect her, and the weakness of her sacred art would immediately be revealed. Ning Qing took in a deep breath and decided to start. Since he had chosen the path of cultivation, in a situation where he could either fight or escape, he must not leave a shadow in his heart. If he was going to die, then he was going to die. There was no need to be so wishy-washy. Moreover, he might not necessarily be dead. Even if he failed, as long as he could escape long enough to bring out the starry sky wheel, he would still have a chance to survive. PFFF. Ning Qing hadn't even made a move when Nong Shirua spat out a mouthful of essence blood. Her defensive spirit technique instantly weakened. Nong Shirua sighed. She knew that she had hurt her foundation and could no longer block Zhu Huiyang. Ning Qing, on seeing Nong Shirua in such a situation, knew that it would be too late if he didn't act now. Therefore, he did not hesitate to bring out the 5-colored star splitter arrow. If he wanted to fight head-on, he definitely wouldn't be a match for Zhu Huiyang. At this moment, he was hiding in the shadows. While Zhu Huiyang and Nong Shirua were in a deadlock, only the 5-colored star splitter arrow posed the biggest threat to him. Zhu Huiyang's barrier gradually closed. Even if Nong Shirua activated her defensive sacred art, she could only wait for death. As for Zhou Xing, he was blankly wrapped by the pseudo-realm and darkness god art. He didn't dare to move at all. At this moment, a terrifying killing intent suddenly rushed into this stalemate. The overwhelming killing intent completely locked down this pseudo-realm. The killing intent that seemed to engulf the entire Thunder God Canyon locked onto Zhu Huiyang. Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-world suddenly stopped and a trace of fear appeared on his face. He was all too familiar with this kind of killing intent. Back in the 5-colored star splitter public square, the 5-colored star splitter bow had also emitted this kind of killing intent. The sharpness of this killing intent seemed to be even stronger than the 5-colored star splitter bow. Who could it be? Who took away the 5-colored star splitter bow? An aura of death permeated his entire consciousness from the bottom of his heart. At this moment, he didn't dare to move. He was afraid that the slightest movement would trigger the killing intent, and he would be torn apart by the 5-colored star splitter bow's invisible arrow intent. 5-colored star splitter arrow. At the same time, Nong Shirua's heart trembled. She had grabbed the 5-colored star splitter bow before. Naturally, she was very familiar with the aura coming from it. Because of this, when the killing intent swept over, she immediately knew that it wasn't the 5-colored star splitter bow, but the 5-colored star splitter arrow. Although the 5-colored star splitter arrow didn't bind her, she still didn't dare to move. Under this terrifying killing intent, it felt as if she would wake up the 5-colored star splitter arrow's killing intent if she moved. Who was this person who followed her all the way here? Did he possess the 5-colored star splitter arrow? Moreover, he was helping her out. Even after fusing with the laws of darkness, Ning Cheng's face still turned paler. His 5-colored star splitter arrow couldn't even lock down Zhu Huiyang. Moreover, Zhu Huiyang feared the 5-colored star splitter arrow. Otherwise, Zhu Huiyang might have already broken free from this killing intent and killed him. Dao Monarch Darkness, that son of a bitch, Ning Qing cursed in his heart. If it weren't for Tao Monarch Darkness holding back, it wouldn't have been so difficult for him even if he was only in the Tao Birth realm. His essence blood continued to burn, but the 5-colored star splitter arrow's killing intent continued to lock down on him. Ka! A subtle sound emerged, and the Tao charm around Ning Cheng's body turned chaotic. Ning Cheng sighed and shot the 5-colored star splitter arrow. With his strength, he couldn't lock down Zhu Huiyang with the 5-colored star splitter arrow. This arrow might only injure Zhu Huiyang. The 5-colored star splitter arrow that hadn't been shot was the most terrifying. Once he couldn't control the killing intent and shot it, the threat of the 5-colored star splitter arrow would drop to its lowest. Almost at the same time as the 5-colored star splitter arrow shot out, Ning Cheng rushed over and pointed out with a finger. It was the law-breaking finger fused with the laws of darkness. Boom! Ka! The 5-colored star splitter arrow directly broke through Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-realm and slammed into Zhu Huiyang's chest. The aura of Tao charm clashed with the 5-colored star splitter arrow and Zhu Huiyang's chest, and the explosion of the Tao charm contained some flesh and blood. Poof! The 5-colored star splitter arrow finally passed through Zhu Huiyang's body and brought out a bloody mist behind him. Zhu Huiyang's Tao charm aura turned chaotic, but Zhu Huiyang didn't panic. Instead, he felt happy. This arrow wasn't as powerful as he had imagined, nor did it completely destroy his Tao charm. From this, one could tell that the person who shot this arrow had a huge difference in strength compared to him. Die for me. In a hurry, Zhu Huiyang didn't even have the time to bring out a weapon. Instead, he punched towards Ning Cheng. Boom! Zhu Huiyang's punch and Ning Cheng's law-breaking finger collided, creating a maelstrom of Tao charm. Zhu Huiyang's punch felt like an exploding sun, bringing with it a horrifying hot aura. However, Ning Cheng's finger directly broke through the temperature of Zhu Huiyang's exploding sun and struck the center. Everything was annihilated by this collision. Ning Cheng was just like a kite with a broken string, as he was directly sent flying out, crashing into a canyon wall. Zhu Huiyang also felt the Tao charm around his body weaken, and the laws of heaven and earth also weakened at this moment. His pseudo-realm finally shattered with a kacha sound. Zhu Huiyang opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood essence, feeling horrified in his heart. He finally saw Ning Cheng's strength clearly. How could a Tao birth ant be so terrifying? He couldn't let this ant live. He had to kill the other party. Just as Zhu Huiyang was about to step forward and kill Ning Cheng, his body tightened. Laws of darkness surged towards him. At this moment, he felt as if he had fallen into the darkness, without any signs of life. Niece, let's talk. Zhu Huiyang's heart was filled with endless regret. He knew that Nong Shirua, who was close to him, had launched a sneak attack. Nong Shirua naturally wouldn't stop. She was bleeding from all 7 orifices, but she still waved her hand and rolled up a law of darkness spirit technique to wrap around Zhu Huiyang. A bloody mist rolled up. The pitiful Zhu Huiyang, an expert from the pseudo-realm, had been turned into a bloody mist by Nong Shirua's darkness spirit technique after being severely injured by Ning Cheng. Even his primordial spirit had been destroyed by the darkness spirit technique. After Nong Shirua killed Zhu Huiyang, she could no longer stand. She also retreated dozens of steps until she was not far from Ning Cheng. Only then did she fall to the side of the canyon. Ha ha ha! Zhou Xing jumped up from the ground and laughed. I never thought that I would be the only one left. The 5-colored star splitter arrow and the darkness origin bead are all mine, ha! Zhou Xing took a few steps and arrived in front of Ning Cheng. He then raised his hand and slapped towards Ning Cheng. To him, the biggest threat here wasn't Nong Shirua, who could no longer move, but Ning Cheng, who could even kill Zhu Huiyang. Ning Cheng's Tao charm was scattered. He had overdrawn himself to kill an expert like Zhu Huiyang. Whether it was the 5-colored star splitter arrow or the law finger, he wouldn't be able to recover in a short period of time. What's more, his primordial spirit was in chaos and he was still unconscious. Zhou Xing wouldn't slowly kill Ning Cheng. Only when Ning Cheng was dead would he be safe. Poof! Zhou Xing's hand slapped out a bloody mist. He stopped in time and looked at Nong Shirua in shock and anger. Do you want to die? He never expected that Nong Shirua would use her body to block this attack for Ning Cheng. He didn't want to kill Nong Shirua right now. Zhu Huiyang might have a way to refine Nong Shirua's darkness origin bead, but he didn't have that ability. You're the one who's going to die. Nong Shirua weakly spat out these 4 words. She then fell onto Ning Cheng's body and stopped breathing. Zhou Xing looked down at his chest in disbelief. An extremely terrifying darkness aura swept over him. This darkness aura felt very familiar to him. Then, he saw his body shatter into pieces. His primordial spirit also gradually turned blurry and disappeared within these fragments. At this moment, he finally understood why Nong Shirua had taken dozens of steps back to arrive in front of Ning Cheng. It turned out that this woman already knew who his target was. That's why she was waiting here to plot against him. This woman was truly terrifying. This canyon, which was filled with a noisy murderous aura, was now completely silent except for the faint smell of blood lingering in the air. Chapter 1409. Ning Cheng was the first to wake up. He felt a tightness in his chest and immediately saw Nong Shirua lying unconscious on top of his chest. Nong Shirua was covered in blood and her face was pale. Her originally glossy hair had also turned yellow. As Ning Cheng struggled to get up, his gaze swept towards Zhou Xing, who was not far from him. Zhou Xing's death was exactly the same as the early-stage Dao integration cultivator who had kidnapped Nong Shirua. Clearly, Nong Shirua had killed Zhou Xing. In a short time, Ning Cheng deduced the general situation of the matter. After Nong Shirua had killed Zhu Huiyang, she had saved him just as Zhou Xing was about to kill him, risking her life to kill Zhou Xing. After all, Zhou Xing couldn't have killed Nong Shirua before killing him. Now that Zhou Xing had died and Nong Shirua had fainted on top of him, it meant that Zhou Xing had been killed by Nong Shirua while trying to kill him. Ning Cheng swallowed a few pills. After his injuries healed a little, he raised his hand and threw out some array flags. After a few breaths, Dao runes condensed and formed a Dao rune image. Sure enough, it was just as he had guessed. After killing Zhu Huiyang, Nong Shirua had deliberately fallen beside him and used the opportunity to kill Zhou Xing. Ning Cheng took a deep breath, took out a few pills and put them into Nong Shirua's mouth. He hadn't expected Nong Shirua to be so grateful for saving his life. He had just saved her life, and she had returned the favor. She was a very proud woman who could distinguish between gratitude and grudges. This was the most dangerous move he had ever made. Although he had expected it, the result wasn't that bad. He had only lost a portion of his lifespan and essence blood, but it hadn't affected his Dao heart. Ning Cheng put away the array flags and disrupted the Dao rune aura. He raised his hand and threw out a flame to destroy the place. Then, he grabbed a few rings and left the place with Nong Shirua in his arms. Ning Cheng didn't leave Lightning God Canyon. Instead, he opened up a new cave abode far away. After setting up the defense array, Ning Cheng waited for Nong Shirua to wake up. Nong Shirua's injuries had damaged her foundation, and her cultivation was only at the Dao modeling realm. Ning Cheng had too many Dao pills on him. It would be easy for him to save Nong Shirua. Ning Cheng didn't have to wait long. Just over an hour after he finished arranging the defensive array, Nong Shirua woke up. She sat up in amazement, raised her head and looked around, before her eyes finally fell on Ning Cheng and spoke, "Many thanks to this friend for saving my life." Nong Shirua could be considered delicate and pretty. Her lips were neither thin nor thick, giving off a gentle feeling. Although her hair had withered and turned yellow, it added to her fragile beauty. In addition, Ning Cheng was already very grateful towards Nong Shirua, which made Nong Shirua even more pleasing to the eye. Fairy Nong's words are too serious. If not for Fairy Nong's help, I'm afraid that I would have already died at the hands of Zhu Huiyang or Zhou Xing. Speaking of which, Fairy Nong has already saved me twice. Nong Shirua smiled slightly. You saved me first. My father has always taught me that if I don't repay kindness, I'm no different from a dog, much less a cultivator. When Ning Qing heard these words, he immediately felt deep respect for Nong Shimu. What he respected the most were people who knew how to repay kindness. Since Nong Zimu could teach his daughter this way, he was naturally a person who knew how to repay kindness. Fairy Nong, my name is Ning Qing. From now on, Fairy Nong can just call me by my name. Ning Qing said respectfully to Nong Shirua. Nong Shirua bowed slightly. Big brother Ning's cultivation far surpasses mine, so you can just call me Shirua. I'm not a fairy. Nong Shirua paused for a moment before continuing. Since Big Brother Ning passed by my cave for the first time, you must have come for the darkness origin bead, right? After saying this, Nong Shirua stared at Ning Qing. Although Ning Qing had saved her, and she vaguely felt that Ning Qing wasn't a thick-skinned person, she couldn't be sure if Ning Qing had saved her because of the darkness origin bead. Ning Qing's heart skipped a beat, and an awkward expression appeared on his face. Nong Shirua actually knew that he had been following her. He didn't know why Nong Shirua had pointed out Zhou Xing's weakness, but not him. I'm very sorry. It's because I really wanted the darkness origin bead. That's why I wanted to exchange it with you. Ning Qing said apologetically. Nong Shirua showed a faint smile. It's nothing. In fact, as long as you refine me, you can obtain the darkness origin bead. Who would want someone else to refine them? Ning Qing stood up in embarrassment and said, I really wanted to exchange with you. If you don't want to, then I naturally wouldn't do such an ungrateful thing. Not to mention that you and I have no enmity, and that you even saved my life. Even if I had enmity with you, I would only take revenge and snatch the origin bead. Refining a person and obtaining the origin bead is not something that I, Ning Qing, would do. Big brother Ning, please sit down. I was just testing you. I hope Big brother Ning can forgive me and not mind. Nong Shirua respectfully bowed towards Ning Qing. Ning Qing nodded and didn't speak again. He knew that Nong Shirua's probing wasn't excessive. After all, he and Nong Shirua had only met for the first time, and they weren't even friends. Can I ask, Big brother Ning, why do you want the darkness origin bead? Seeing that Ning Qing didn't have any intention of forcibly snatching it, Nong Shirua asked. Ning Qing pondered over it for a while before speaking. My cultivation method has something to do with origin. Moreover, I also have a world. If I could obtain the darkness origin bead, then it would be a step closer to perfection. Nong Shirua nodded on hearing Ning Qing's words. When you arrived at the entrance of my immortal cave, I sensed that you also cultivated an origin cultivation method. Because of this, I planned to talk to you face to face after dealing with that person. I just didn't expect Zhu Huiyang to be so scheming. I suspect that Ran Tong's actions also had something to do with Zhu Huiyang. No wonder he didn't expose the matter of him following him. It turned out that he sensed that he cultivated an origin cultivation method. You don't have to worry. If I didn't guess wrong, your cultivation should have dropped a lot. Once your cultivation recovers, even if I have the origin bead and cultivate an origin cultivation method, I wouldn't be able to detect it. Nong Shirua saw that Ning Qing remained silent and tried to comfort him. Ning Qing didn't want to talk about his origin cultivation method, so he changed the topic. Was Ran Tong working for someone? Nong Shirua gave an N sound and spoke with certainty. Ran Tong definitely worked for someone, and the person behind him wasn't Zhu Huiyang. I suspect that it was Zhu Jin, but I don't have any evidence. Zhu Jin? The sacred master of the radiant sacred domain? Ning Qing asked in surprise. Nong Shirua sighed. He was indeed the sacred master of the radiant sacred domain, and he was my father's best friend. My father died for the radiant sacred domain, but he coveted my darkness origin bead. How do you know that Zhu Jin coveted your darkness origin bead? Ning Qing felt puzzled. Nong Shirua's eyes showed a trace of helplessness. Before my father died, he told me that he suspected Zhu Jin of plotting against him. Unfortunately, he didn't have any way to find the answer. He told me that if Zhu Jin really plotted against him, then I could only stay in the Sacred Master region and live in the same region as Zhu Jin. Only then would I have a chance to keep my life. Ning Qing frowned slightly. If Ju Jin really was behind this, then they would be in grave danger in the Thunder God Canyon. As if seeing through Ning Cheng's thoughts, Nong Shirua spoke up calmly, "We are the safest here. It's just like when I lived in the Radiant Sacred Domain's Sacred Master region. As long as I lived there, Ju Jin wouldn't touch me, or at least, wouldn't dare to touch me. Now that Zhu Huiyang has fallen in the Thunder God Canyon, this is also the safest place." "Then what will you do?" Ning Cheng looked at Nong Shirua. If Nong Shirua couldn't find a way, then once he found the universe surface of this universe, he could take Nong Shirua away. Nong Shirua raised her hand and rubbed her head before speaking in an extremely calm voice, "I won't go back to the Sacred Master region. It wasn't easy for me to leave the Sacred Master region, so I've already made my plans." Nong Shirua didn't say where she planned to go, and Ning Cheng didn't ask again. "You said that you want to use the Darkness Origin Bead to perfect your world. Is your world a top-grade Primal Chaos world?" Nong Shirua once again brought back Ning Cheng's previous words. Although the Five Elements Primal Chaos world also needed something like the Origin Bead, Ning Cheng knew that he couldn't hide it from Nong Shirua. He nodded and didn't speak. The Good Fortune world was also known as the Primal Chaos world by some people. Nong Shirua remained silent for a while before suddenly speaking up, "Big brother Ning, if you believe me, then don't continue looking for the Origin Bead to perfect your world. Don't even try to merge with your world and use it to reach the third step." "Why?" Ning Cheng didn't intend to use the mysterious yellow bead to reach the third step, but if he chose to use the Origin Bead to perfect his world, then why not? Nong Shirua looked at Ning Cheng and said in a solemn voice, "Big brother Ning, there are countless ways to reach the third step. For example, Zhu Huiyang was also considered to be at the third step. But with Zhu Huiyang's strength, he was like an ant in front of my father. Even Zhu Jin of the Sacred Master region could easily crush Zhu Huiyang. That's because his third step is the ant world, also known as the false world." Ning Cheng already knew about this, but he didn't expect Nong Shirua to know about it as well. If Nong Shimu had told Nong Shirua about this, then Nong Shimu's understanding of the Grand Tao was extremely deep. If such a person died early, then it would be a loss. Nong Shirua's tone turned even more solemn, "Big brother Ning, the true creation world is to use one's own laws to condense one's own world. If I'm not wrong, Big brother Ning, you should have already found the Five Elements Origin Bead to perfect your world. Moreover, your cultivation method is also closely related to the origin." Ning Cheng couldn't help but admire Nong Shirua's insight. He simply admitted it, "That's right, it's indeed as you said." Nong Shirua nodded and continued, "My father told me that a true third-step powerhouse is able to evolve their own laws, condense their own world origin, and construct their own world. They don't rely on any external origin, nor do they rely on any heavenly treasures. Condense one's own origin." Nong Shirua's words flashed through Ning Cheng's spiritual sense like a bolt of lightning. He already vaguely understood this, but it wasn't very deep. He had always thought that he had used the origin of heaven and earth to perfect the mysterious yellow bead, and then used the cultivation method derived from the mysterious yellow bead to reach the third step, which was the strongest third step. But after listening to Nong Shirua's words, he suddenly understood. The third step he thought was indeed strong, but he still had to rely on the treasures of heaven and earth. Even if he condensed a new world, it wouldn't be his own origin. No wonder Nong Shirua showed a look of pity. It was because he had already condensed the Five Elements Origin Bead.